Councilmember Nguyen, want to give him a quick buzz? Thank you.
See, I called and he answered.
See that? There he is. Hello, Councilmember Gully. Wait till, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to embarrass you. Councilmember Gully has been walking and watching what he's eating, and Councilmember Gully, you can share the news. Pounds, many.
I lost to Carmelo Mantello.
I don't think that much, but probably maybe over half. It's amazing. I saw him last evening. Looks wonderful. Great job.
Congrats.
No congrats yet. We're only halfway home, but thank you very much.
I won't recognize you, Jim. Okay.
That's the objective.
I'm sorry.
I said, that's the objective. Have nobody recognize me.
Oh, come on.
I'm getting close to that retirement.
Okay. Hold on one sec. All right, Mara, we are recorded, and I will kick off our finance meeting, June 17th. It's about 6:05. I thank everyone out there for joining us. We're joined here this evening by a number of folks that we'll introduce in a bit, but without further ado, we will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Councilmember McDermott to lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember McDermott. We'll do a quick
You're
roll call. We'll do a quick roll call. Councilmember Gully,
Part of me is here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Present.
Councilmember Steele,
Present.
Councilmember Cummings,
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Here.
Councilmember McDermott,
Here.
and Council President Mantello is here. All 7 are present. Before we move into the agenda, I found out very late today that today is Aishan's birthday, and some of us received an email. Aishan's mom is in the hospital, and so there is a meal train going around for Aishan, his father, Terrence, and the family. So we can share that later on. But I did just want to share that today is Aishan's birthday, and if you don't mind, if we could just take a moment of silence just to keep Aishan and his family in memory. Thank you. Okay, and just some quick upbeat news. I'm not sure if you saw MJ Rivera, who, many of you know, was shot through a drive-by shooting a few months ago. He is paralyzed by the waist down, but I must tell you, his spirits, his strength is absolutely amazing. This little boy, he definitely belies his youth, and he's just so strong. But I did just want to give a shout out to the businesses out there. They continue to help he and the family, whether it be handicap accessibility. It's truly amazing. But just recently, Troy Vision, they went down to get MJ glasses, and Troy Vision said, we don't want to charge you. So just to kind of, just show the outpouring of our community and businesses, it continues. And I just wanted to give folks an update that, MJ's spirit is alive and strong. So we'll go right into the agenda. The approval of the minutes. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as transcribed.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second,
Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 7-0, approval of the minutes. Presentation of the agenda. As always, we have a very ambitious and chunky agenda. And first on the agenda is Tony Tazi from the Community Land Bank. Before you go into your presentation, Tony, we have 3 folks who have asked to speak regarding either agenda items or things happening in the city, and then we'll go right into Tony, and then we'll go into our legislation. So Mara, if you could present us with our first speaker, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll just say all 3 of them so they know who they are. It's Erin Lozier, Denise D'Angelico, and Sarah Dagno. So Erin will be first.
Awesome. Thank you, Mara. As Erin joins us, just so folks out there know, we have the mayor with us this evening. We have the deputy mayor. We have our superintendent of public utilities, Chris Whelan. We have our comptroller, Andy. We also, I believe, will be joined by Rick Morrissey, who's with us also. And as I said, Tony Tazi will be giving us a presentation very shortly. So Erin, thank you so much for joining us. And
Oh, good
nice to
afternoon.
see you. Twice in 2 days. Nice
Well,
to
it's
see
2
you.
days. It's a good batting average.
Okay, take it away. You do have 5 minutes, and we do not have a timer. I will keep a timer here. So I'll let you know when it gets to like 30, 40 seconds. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all. I'm speaking to you today regarding the relationship between the city of Troy and the Troy Community Land Bank. I am deeply concerned that there have been many documented instances where the land bank has gotten first right to a property before it goes to the public bid as it relates to the city's tax foreclosure process. Not only does this circumvent the public bid, but it does it for the land bank's own benefit. And it appears that from their last few meeting minutes that their plan is to get properties from the city of Troy and bank them for future sales to other nonprofits that they have existing relationships with. This is concerning to me as a taxpayer. If the public is awarded a bid on a foreclosure property, not only will the city be able to add revenue from the sale of the property to the treasury, but also that the properties will be added immediately back to the city's tax rolls. This is not the case when the city donates a property to the land bank. When the land bank buys a property for the city for $1, they don't pay property taxes, sewer, or water while it's owned by the land bank. But when the land bank sells a property, the land bank then receives the tax revenue from that sale for a period of 5 years. This does not help the city's finances and provides little incentive for the land bank to quickly sell or rehab a property. Not only is this a revenue problem for the city, but the timeline of work for each building moves at a snail's pace. Some examples of properties that I've not only visited, but also have reviewed their meeting minutes on. At 32296 Ave, there's a roof that is caving in, and the property has been owned by the land bank since 2019. 11 Winnie has been owned since 2018 with a construction budget of $170,000. Today, that property is not complete with workmanship that does not align with this budget. Never mind that there is no back door to the property and anyone off the street can merely walk in. It took 7 months to determine that the personal property of the former owner of 24 McClendon was going to be removed and trashed before it was going to be listed. That property sold for $80,000 when the city sold to the land bank for $1. In 2019, 7 Park Ave was transferred to the land bank, and their website has it listed as a property as a demo pending. The building is still standing today, and it continues to be an eyesore. 791 River Street was transferred in 2015. Not only has this building had a new foundation put in, but the land bank later determined that it needed to be demoed and rebuilt back up in its entirety. In addition to this, they have a $260,000 construction loan with Pioneer to complete this project. In short, with even the additional proposed grant money that the land bank is seeking from the new initiative, their work is not completed in a timely manner as their buildings continue to sit and deteriorate. The purpose of the creation of the land banks is to acquire tax delinquent, tax foreclosed, vacant, and/or abandoned properties and to eliminate all the harms and liabilities created by such properties in New York. The funding comes from the land bank comes from the New York Attorney General's office stemming from the 2008 financial crisis. The creation of the land bank is a noble endeavor. However, not all noble endeavors help our city. Good intentions do not always lead to good results. The land bank offers a means of addressing market failure where the general public deems an asset to be uninvestable. The land bank is acquiring properties that the general public wants and can simply fix more easily, efficiently, and quickly while adding revenue back to the city. The land bank uses public funds and is stopping private citizens from investing their own capital into the community. In Albany County, all tax foreclosed properties flow directly to the Albany County Land Bank. In 2013, the number of vacant buildings in the city of Albany was estimated to be 750. With the establishment of the Albany County Land Bank in 2014, that number is in excess of 1,000 today. The Troy Community Land Bank wants this model to be set in place for all tax foreclosed properties, and this is not a future that I want to see for the city of Troy. I've been in contact with city council members, Tony himself, members of the public. In each of these discussions, I cannot get a clear answer to how the land bank helps our city. The city does an excellent job of disposing of tax foreclosed properties.
Aaron, there's about 40 seconds, just so you know. So.
All right, wrapping up. The city does such a great job. I'm not aware of an incident where the reverter had to be enacted. This is not the case with the Troy Community Land Bank, where I found that they have set enforcement notices to buyers where they have enacted their own reverter. In conclusion, I believe in the free market. If there's a property that the public wants, then the property should be added back to the tax rolls and the city receives the funds from the sale. If the property is undesirable to the public, then the role of the land bank is clear. They should use the public funds to fill the gap where the general public cannot. They should acquire only those properties and use their funds to return those properties back to the tax rolls that are undesirable by the general public. I believe that the city of Troy can do better than the city of Albany. On behalf of all those that want to see a change in the relationship between the city of Troy and the Troy Community Land Bank, I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing to work with the city going forward.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Thanks for your input. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, Mara, I believe as Aaron phases out here that we have Denise D'Angelico.
Well, no, there she is. She disappeared. Now she's back.
There's Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi, can you
Hi
see me?
there. Yeah, we can't see you yet. We can hear you.
Okay. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
You don't need to see me.
Okay. Okay.
I'm here to talk about bee farming in Troy. I know there are no codes currently. I have a bee farm across the street from my house, very close neighborhood. It's about 25 feet from my property. When it was moved in last fall, there were 20 bee boxes. There's approximately 10,000 to 60,000 bees in each box, which I've been told by the horticulturist at Extension, Rensselaer County Cooperative Extension. The person who owns them is constantly putting more up, taking more down. He lost a couple over the winter, he said. He sells honey. I've actually bought his honey. I have no objection to bees, but this is just way too many in such a small neighborhood. And the big issue for me is they excrete a sticky yellow substance And it's all over my home. It's all over my car. It's all over my outside furniture. It's really tough to get off. I've taken my car through the car wash and it's still stuck to the windows. You have to use alcohol to get it off. I clean my mailbox and it's all stained. It's like yellow stain. You have to use Clorox and it's constant. It's like an everyday chore that I have to, you know, I'm not even gonna wash my house this year. I usually wash it once a year until something gives with these bee boxes because it's really over the top. And like I said, I don't have any objection to bees. I like bees. I have flowers. I know they pollinate my flowers. That's good. But it's just too close. And I know there's 3 of my other neighbors who object as well. I don't know if they've complained at all, but I've checked with the city of Albany. They allow 2 in the city. They do not allow farming. I haven't really checked with any other cities, but I'm hoping that the council will take this up and make some reasonable, you know, limits on this. I mean, like I said, I don't object to 1 or 2 boxes, but if anyone wants to come up and take a look, you'd be surprised how many are there and how many bees are swarming around. So feel free to come up. 15 Luther Street is my address and it's right across the street at number 10 Luther. So I pay my taxes on time. I try to keep my property up. I try to keep my business in Troy or in Rensselaer County. And I'm very happy living here, but this situation is becoming untenable. I really hope that the council can take a good look at it and make some reasonable codes.
Thank you, Denise. And, you know, I appreciate you speaking this evening. You certainly brought me to an issue that I never thought I would delve into, which we'll talk about later. But thank you for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night. Okay.
The third person seems to have logged off, so we only have 2 speakers.
Okay. All right. If Sarah logs back on, we'd be happy to have her join us. Okay. All right. Let's delve into Tony Tazzi, who's with us. So Tony, thank you for joining us. And if you don't mind also introducing Kate and take it away. Thank you very much. Hi, Kate.
Hey, Carmela, thanks for the opportunity for the presentation. Before I go into this, I don't want to sound negative, but just about every single statement Mr. Lozier made was factually incorrect. You know, my understanding is he moved into the city of Troy a few months ago and he's running for city council. Somebody who hasn't been in the community, who's running for office, has to create a controversy, has to create a story to try to get his name out there and to get identified. Yeah, his story is 1/3 fact, 1/3 fiction, 1/3 supposition. I can tell you that the Troy Land Bank has had squeaky clean audits in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. No findings whatsoever. We have oversight by our primary grantor, Enterprise Community Partners, Inc. The funding, by the way, is not public. This is not taxpayer money. It is all private foundation money. It used to be from the Attorney General's office. It no longer is so. So I just wanted to make, and I can't remember all the statements, but as he went through one
Time's
by
up,
one.
Tony. No, I'm kidding.
What's that?
Oh, no, the timer went off. I said your time's up. I was only kidding.
Okay, fine. No, okay,
No,
so
we're
let me jump-
anxious to hear what you have to share, and thank you.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what sort of a presentation you guys wanted, so I'm just going to give you basically bullet points of what we've done since we have been in existence. And this is from a file I created back in March of this year. The land bank has acquired from the city of Troy or elsewhere 38 structures and 4 vacant lots. Actually, the lots were private purchases for a total of 42 properties acquired. We have since sold 18 buildings and 18 vacant lots, total of 29 properties. We right now have a current inventory of 14 properties. We have completed 18 demolitions, which is probably half of all the funds we have received to date. We have stabilized or partially rehabbed 21 buildings. We have completed 4 full renovations as part of co-developments with Habitat for Humanity. We have one new building under construction. We have been successful in every grant round that we have competed in for enterprise community funding. To date, we have put, get this right. We have put on the tax rolls property that total almost $2 million. With the projects we are doing right now and those that we have completed or brought back to the tax rolls, we're providing the city of Troy with taxes that generate almost $120,000 a year.
And we do not receive any tax money for 5 years. I'm not sure what he was referring to, but
That was a proposal that was talked about a few years ago, but it never landed anywhere. There is one significant difference between the Troy Land Bank and most other land banks. Most other land banks, and as was mentioned, the Albany County Land Bank is all the properties from the interim lists of the county and City of Cohoes, City of Albany, and all the towns are transferred to the Albany County Land Bank. So that allows the Albany County Land Bank to balance out many distressed properties with some properties of value to try to balance out the overall financial challenge that they have. We don't have that. So we have had the opportunity from the city of Troy in the 2019 round to obtain 2 properties of value, which were very helpful to us. One of those properties will end up being owned by an owner occupant and someone who operates a business in the city of Troy. The other will be an investment property, or is an investment property by someone who has an extremely good track record and lives in the city of Cohoes. So that's just a quick overview. If you'd like, I could go into my annual report. That's going to take some time. But I have a feeling that you'd probably rather ask questions than hear me dribble on.
That's great. And I do think at a future date, I think that'd be great on the annual report, Tony. And I know because of COVID last year, obviously that didn't happen. I'll open it up to council members. And if you could also send us that cheat sheet that you just read off, that would be awesome. I'd love to be able to have it for myself. And I'm sure other council members may also, if you don't mind.
Will do.
Okay, let's open it up to council members. I know folks have questions, and in addition to the properties tonight, and you did send an email regarding those also.
Council President.
You got it, Council Member Gully.
Hi, Tony. How are you? Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, you know, the issue we've heard a couple times, and we've heard from constituents and some investors in our city, is that when you get a property, it's not being performed on for a long period of time. And I know that, you know, that a lot of the properties might be in real detrimental state, some of the properties that you bought in the past. But your impression tonight of your conversation was all healthy and positive. But yet on the back end, we hear different things. And I just like if you could help me, because I really don't know. So I really need your help on this. If you could help me address a couple of things I heard and maybe you'd help me out.
Yep, that's actually a good example of how people are misrepresenting what's happening with the land bank.
Well, that's
So-
why I want to ask, that's why I want to ask you,
All right.
because now it won't be misrepresentation. It'll be a fact coming from the executive director.
And that's why I appreciate the question. So in December of 2019, the land bank received 7 properties from the city of Troy. And in March of 2020, this thing called COVID happened. And it has impacted the land bank as it has the entire world. And this is not to use COVID as an excuse, but what it's resulted in is, one of the first time the governor issued his emergency orders, he said construction must stop. So our projects were stopped dead in their tracks for several months. Once they started to get going again, contractors were having problems getting supplies. The licensed professionals we needed to get information into code enforcement was a challenge to them because of their own COVID problems, or I should say challenges. They weren't able to turn around the information as quickly as they would have in pre-COVID days. So that has resulted in really a timeline for the completion of our projects, which should have all have been completed before now, to projects that are still being worked on. I will say 11 Winnie Avenue is 99.9% complete. 54 Fifth Avenue is a co-development that we're doing with the SEAT from Schenectady Social Enterprise and Training program. And, they too were hit with COVID. They had to completely shut down their operations when COVID hit. And because they have a youth build program that runs on, a timetable, it wasn't so easy to just pick up and run to progress that project. So because of the COVID issues, we have a contractor that's doing 2 of our projects, Johnny Bobo, and he's a great contractor. He's doing 11 Winnie Avenue, and he's doing 3229 6th Avenue, which by the way, the roof is not caving in, the roof is being worked on. And I asked Johnny to, originally he was doing both projects at the same time. And because of the impacts of COVID, I asked him, could you please concentrate on 11 Winnie Avenue and get back to 3229 once that's done. So that's kind of what's going on with those projects. They are moving forward, and honest to God, if COVID hadn't been around in 2020, we would be in a completely different place, as I'm sure everyone is aware.
One thing I'd like to add to that, if I
sure.
may.
Sure, Kate.
By the way, I'm Kate Hedgeman. I'm counsel to the Troy Community Land Bank and other land banks, and was really involved from the startup in your land bank and also some other land banks. So what's important to keep in mind is that the land bank is a real property program, and we have an entire procedure of how we vet applications, and we really look into people and their ability to finish the project. And the other really important point, because I know we're pressed for time, that you should know
You're
with
okay. No.
okay.
Just so you know, take your time. This is very important. The council's here. Thank you.
Okay. So is enforcement, and that really seems to be your topic tonight. So let me just tell you quickly all that goes into our enforcement program. And the purpose of the land bank was not only to take high liability properties off of the city, and also take on the role of finding good applicants, monitoring the project, and yes, where appropriate, putting land bank funds into projects to close that gap, to make someone want to even buy it, right? So the enforcement in particular and the policy is on our website. We use an enforcement note and mortgage on all of our projects. Generally speaking, from the get-go, you get 1 year to finish the project. It's in the mortgage document. And within that year, we have a schedule of check-ins. So within 30 days, you have to pull permits. Within 60 to 90, you're checking in with us. What work have you completed? We'd like some pictures. We may even do a site visit, right? And it goes out to 120 days and then 200, and so on and so forth. And yes, in some instances, when you have projects that are subject to government approval, like planning board maybe, I can think of one where they wanted to do more units than was currently permissible. That could take 6 to 8 months. And so, that extends the completion date of the project. And as long as the applicant and the owner is in contact with us, the land bank, we review what's going on and we give the proper extensions. And the communication is constant. And where we're not getting compliance, that is where we have the ability to take the property back after that 1 year if it's not completed, or the owner has come forward and asked for an extension and the board feels that there's good reason to do that, they'll extend it. Or we take the property back. And that really, taking the property back is always a last resort. We like to work with the owners of the property to get the project completed. But where they can't, we will take that back. And whether that's a deed in lieu of foreclosure, or it takes a court action one way or another, we'll get it back pretty easily because our documents are pretty airtight. But there is a significant enforcement policy in place. And, that really is something that not only our grantors, but the comptroller's office, everyone wants to see in place and make sure that we are enforcing. So we have not only a board of directors to answer to and the city of Troy to answer to, but we also have, the authority's budget office and, the comptroller's office looking for enforcement on these properties. So, and Tony's point is also a really great point about not getting all the properties from Troy. And there's some land banks that have the similar model that you do, but you have to remember sustainability of the land bank does depend on getting some properties that are going to generate a profit for the land bank so they can operate and turn around and put money back into other properties. There's a significant over the last, since 2016, I think Monica and I had started the land bank. The demolitions that we've done and the money that's been contributed towards that and the land bank has been incredible. So, it really is one of those things, I think, that maybe the general public and maybe even some of you didn't realize, what the land bank entails and all that we do go through. So, yes, if you drive by some of the properties that aren't finished right now, you might say, well, what's going on? But, COVID is going on. I mean, the whole year of stop and then not being able to get supplies, we've had to extend deadlines. We've had to, even talk to the bank and say, this is going to take longer than we thought. But, the board is there. They're heavily engaged. And of course, when needed, I'm engaged as counsel to make sure that the properties are enforced. But, I think Tony and I can represent to you tonight that there's nothing irregular here. And that, I certainly can understand that if you want a property and it goes to the land bank, you might be angry about that. But the whole purpose, is to return the properties to responsible owners and back on the tax rolls. And that's what we're doing.
Councilmember
Council
Gully,
President.
yep, you have the floor. Yep.
So Kate, I understand that, and that was a tremendous amount of information, and I understand that. But I have some questions then that come up based on your words to us tonight. And I'm looking before COVID, you had a property at 785 River. And I'm told that you bought that in 2016, way before COVID. And 2.5 years later, you sold it to an LLC out of Spring Valley. And from what I'm told, and I could be wrong, and I think you did that in 2018, but there's never been a building permit pulled on that property. And we've had code complaints to that property, and that's one. And then there's 836 River Street. I believe you sold
Same person.
I think it is the same person, right?
Yep.
Right? I don't have all
It's-
of you, but I'm just saying, you bought it for 16 and then you sold it for 9, you know, and again, that property still has not been a building permit pulled on it. And
Right,
even-
so,
Hold on, and even back as far as 822 River back in 2015, I'm seeing that there's no permits on those, and I'm just curious if that's, if you say you have a strong follow-up with your buyers, and there was no COVID back then, just help me out, help me understand it, because I want to do the right thing, but I need good information to do the right thing.
sure.
Can I point out that 822 River Street does have permits issued? And it is undergoing renovation right now. I can shoot folks a ton of pictures that were taken about 3 days ago. The property owner is fully engaged in the renovation, doing a good job. But Jim, you're right about 785 and about 836. The person we sold that property to hasn't done lickety split on the property. We have tried to contact him, and COVID did get in the way because you know, there was a time where you just couldn't foreclose on property. I
Well,
mean,
here's-
the city knows how difficult it is to have to get court action, because there was no 2020 property disposition list, because it was, you know, there were just no judges taking any action. So we were in that for a little bit of time as well, but I'll turn it over to Kate because she's actually hands-on on this right now.
So I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Before Tony, there was a different executive director. I don't know really what was done under that director as far as enforcement. I was not involved in that. I probably should have been asked to be involved, but I don't know. So the other thing you should keep in mind is that the guidelines we use in enforcement, the 30 days to pull permits, the 90 days, those are check-in points for us. If for some reason those dates are missed, it's not an automatic thing where we start or would even have a legal right to pull the property back. So we have to literally wait at least a year for nothing to happen in non-completion before we could even start to enforce our enforcement note. So that being said, I think there was, I want to say, at least a 6-month period prior to me bringing an action to take this property back, where Tony tried to, contact this owner and no response. Emails, process server, everybody went out there. We tried to get them because, it was ridiculous. So finally, I did file a court action to take it back. It's currently pending. I expect a judgment, default judgment, because this person didn't even appear in the court action. So, we should have that building back here pretty shortly. But, I think COVID definitely played a role, but in this one, I don't have enough history to even comment or tell you, because that executive director did not involve me in enforcement at that time. Only when Tony came in and then, I'm taking a look at this and we're trying to contact this guy and work with him. And then of course, COVID hits in the middle of that. And you can't bring a court action during COVID. That was it. No non-essential court action. So I had to wait a whole year to even try to take it back. So, anything before Tony was the director, I don't have a lot of information about, which would have been back when Tony, prior to 2018, right? 29, I can't remember, but so that's the story on that property.
So you say you're moving forward on those and you have paperwork into, and the other properties, you're pursuing the reverters on those also at this time?
We're pursuing 785 and 836 River. And then the other one is 3209 and 3211 7th. That's coming back to us as well. That one's a different story. That developer tried very hard to get planning approvals, and it just wasn't working out. So actually, we've heard from them, and they are going to willingly transfer the property back to us, and I'll discontinue the court action.
All right, that's great. So now on these properties that you're looking to purchase, I mean, before this legacy program come out, I don't know where you were, I don't know where you were with your monetary strength to reform and rehab these buildings, but these are some decent buildings. What is your plan and your timeline if you were to get them? Is this something you're holding for like a bulk program with somebody? Or are these properties something you're going to get right in and rehab? And we'll see, movement on them quickly.
Well, I think I need to explain the program so you really can understand it. And by the way, we found out, this was a surprise announcement to me, and to a lot of other land banks. We found out about it, the governor office announced it 2 days after the last finance committee meeting. So I guess there was a blessing in having our agenda item tabled for several reasons. The Legacy City Access Program is a $25 million program eligible only to New York State land banks through the governor's office. And it will be coordinated by New York State Department of Housing and Community Renewal. What their objective is to really work with developers. The subsidies that they're providing are anywhere between $75,000 and $95,000 per unit. HCR had a webinar on Monday, and they made it pretty clear that they're not looking for just code compliance. They're looking for affordable, quality housing. The way the program works is they're looking to promote minority businesses as real estate developers. So the way this would work is HCR will take a look at what they call a bundle or an assemblage of properties. That would be a bundle of 5 to 10 properties. And each property has to be 1, 2, or 3 dwellings each. They would, so here's basically what happens. The land bank has a very small role to play in this. We create the bundle, we select a developer to work with, and then probably shortly after HCR approves the application, there'll be a closing, the properties get handed off to the developer, and the developer, who has all the expertise in the world to get these things done, and who's scrutinized by HCR, will be doing the projects, not the land bank. It's very unlikely the land bank will have a role after the closing. I mean, if we do, it would be for some kind of minor purpose. I can't even think of really why it would be involved at all. So what we're trying to do is we're really trying to come up with 2 bundles of 5 properties, which is why I'm requesting that the resolution be amended. Right now, if it were amended and we were to acquire the properties that are on the list I'm proposing, we could come up with 8 properties, which means we would either have to see if there are other properties available from the city, or if there are other properties available, through private sale or bank donation or other means. But we would really like to come up with 2 bundles of properties with 2 developers to go to HCR to apply with.
And that funding is specific to land banks.
Right.
So I just want to back up my original question here a little bit. Without that funding that they put out, do you have the strength and ability to take these houses and get them back on the tax roll without the legacy program? That's what I'm trying to find out, where your strength is outside of the grant.
Well, I think what we'd have to do, Jim, is good. Sorry.
And the other thought I have is you're limited to working with minority or women-owned developers. And where does that stand with, we have some great quality developers in Troy that put out some decent, sturdy product. I'm just wondering that you limit yourself so you cannot work with any of the developers that even some that have bid on these properties and put in some pretty decent bids that I thought could collaborate and work together with the land bank to, make everybody happy. But apparently by what you're saying, that probably can't happen with this program. Am I right?
Well, what HCR is saying is that there's a preference for minority businesses and women-owned businesses. It's not a requirement. My sense is that that's a strong desire that they have, but clearly it is not a requirement. Monday we learned quite a bit more about HCR's intent and some of what they're thinking is. I need to pick up the phone and call a few folks at HCR to get a little bit more information, to ask some questions about, hey, here's what we're thinking of doing. And just to kind of feel them out a little bit more. We have a pretty good handle, but I'd like to have a better handle than what we have right now.
And the other thing I would just add too, and a lot of land bank stuff, the devil's in the details, right? So minority or women-owned business could apply with a not women-owned, minority-owned business. They could partner on something that would give extra points to that application. And the other, piece of all this is when you do a project like from HCR, the developer has to meet certain requirements, including being able to qualify for and carry enough insurance for a huge project, right? Different types of compliance. And so, that kind of elevates who's going to be able to, the type of developer that's going to be able to work on these. Some, mom and pop type renovators who, I've seen in Albany or even in Troy and Cohoes, probably wouldn't necessarily be able to meet that hurdle either. So just something to keep in mind for that too.
Okay, Tony, Kate, thank you very much. I've taken up enough time from the council. I'll turn it over to somebody else. I'll have more
Okay.
questions as we go along.
Chair or
we
Council
go-
President.
Councilmember Ash McPherson is next, but I do want Tony, just to get clarified one thing. Are you asking us to amend this evening's ordinance to add the 32 Glen, 36 Dow, and the amendments that you outlined in your memo, or no?
That's what I'm asking for, yes.
Okay, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Thank you. Hi, is Steve on with us?
No,
He
Steve's
is-
away.
He's in St. Thomas.
Okay.
Lucky him.
So I'm trying to dig through my brain and was going through some of my notes, and I'm looking at these properties that you're talking about with bundles and so forth. Back in about 8-9 months ago, I had a conversation with Steve and Troy Housing that they were looking at these same properties. Are you stating that now Troy Housing isn't going to be looking at these properties and these are going to be going to the land bank? Or is this something you're looking to acquire, then you're going to sell to the Troy Housing?
These will not have anything to do with Troy Housing. With that Troy Housing, the Fallon dedensification project. These will really be bundled. Beacon Communities is the consultant who's working with Troy Housing. I don't believe that they're the kind of developer that HCR is looking for. And I also don't think that Beacon Development would have any interest in doing this kind of development. It's far, far, far too small for what they're geared up to do.
But some of these properties were what they were looking at.
Well, we do have a purchase offer agreement with them, and it does involve some properties. I don't believe any of these properties, honestly, are on that list. If it were on that list, we could sit down and talk to them about modifying the list. But I really don't think that any of those properties are on Beacon's list.
Well, that's interesting. I asked Steve on these, I asked him that specific question, if these properties or anything that had to do with Troy Housing? He said, with that project, he said yes. So I'm kind of confused now.
At one point in time, Beacon was talking to Steve, and I was involved in some of those conversations. And they were looking at other properties because they wanted to, as they de-densify Fallon, they wanted to expand the footprint to further de-densify North Central. But I honestly don't recall these properties being what Beacon was looking to obtain. And I strongly feel that they have no interest at this point in time in any of these properties.
Okay, I'm gonna go back through my notes looking for because I wrote all the address down and I was going through it here just so I can verify this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Do other council members have questions, input? I guess, Monica, Sharon's not here. Have you guys looked over the requested amendments that Tony and the Land Bank, I should say, is requesting to bundle? I'm looking at it now. I mean, I obviously, and I don't know if Rick has looked at them, and Sharon, 32 Glen, city received no purchase applications, 36 Dow. This is owned by the city, but for some reason was not on the property disposition list. And then it looks like there's a few more, maybe. It looks like TAP is hoping, were these on the proposal list, Tony, the other three? I guess I'm a little confused.
TAP asked us to add to our list that was submitted to the City Property Disposition Committee, 2 vacant properties, one on Ingalls and one, I believe it's on 8th Street. And what they're hoping to do is to come up with a building design that's so affordable it doesn't need any subsidies, so that folks in the North Central neighborhood can get a traditional bank loan and can move forward really of their own volition. They don't need any additional help. What TAP needs is time to develop the way to design the building and make sure that they actually can come up with something that makes sense. So they're asking the land bank to do what a land bank does. It holds on to property for a certain period of time so it can be used in the future for some good community purpose. That doesn't guarantee that it doesn't guarantee that what TAP is wanting to do is actually going to happen, but that's the desire on their part.
So Monica, maybe you could weigh in. Has Rick and Sharon and the administration looked at Tony, the land bank's request here to add properties?
So we got an email on Monday from Tony. Steve obviously went on vacation yesterday, and Sharon is out until Monday. Sharon does handle the property purchasing from the real estate transactions from the city. So I think that she certainly has to have a role in this. I do know that Dow Street was one of the properties, and we've been looking at that for years just because of the fact that the Cox properties are there, and we're trying to create opportunity there as well too, especially to marry up with the comp plan, the whole coordination of that in the comp plan, as well as the transit-oriented development that Tony and Kim probably referenced with Troy Housing Authority and the Land Bank partnership. So, Steve responded and said he was going to call Tony on Monday, and I haven't seen any follow-up from that. So I think it's a little hard. I don't think we can actually, I'm going to be really honest with you. I wouldn't add these until Sharon adds them. It's her role as the city. It's her role as per code. I think it's a little bit challenging. Listen, I started the land bank and Kate, it was in 2014, not to age us or anything. But I think that, the land bank does really good work, but I think we also need to get some clarity around Troy Housing Authority and their intentions as well too. I just don't want to flip flop without facts.
Fair enough. Councilmember Cummings, oh, I apologize. Rick Morrissey has his hand up, then we'll go to Councilmember Cummings.
Council President and members of the council, I just want to say that I'm in agreement with the deputy mayor. We have not, my office has not reviewed any of these parcels for anything. And normally we would expect that, I mean, the land bank does have a pick of the surplus properties, but normally we would expect that this would go through Sharon first.
Very good. Yeah, you should know, I didn't intend to move it forward, but there was just no discussion on it, and I didn't see a follow-up email. So thank you for clarifying that. So we'll hold off on that for now. Councilmember Cummings.
My understanding is, yeah, this is going to the regular meeting.
Councilmember, you're really low, and I have my volume up.
Is that any better?
There you go. Yep.
Don't know why my computer keeps resetting that. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, my understanding is that this isn't going to the special anyway. So we've got a couple weeks to do the homework on that and can make the amendment then if recommended to do so by the assessor. Yeah, I did have one thing I think I remember. I wanted to get confirmation. Am I right in remembering that these properties, if the city continues to hold them, we have to continue to make other taxing entities whole on them, whereas if we transfer them to the land bank, that is no longer the case. So sitting on these properties that nobody's bidding on for years is certainly costing city taxpayers a significant amount, transferring money from our budget over to other taxing entities. And so certainly that's, to me, there some things that are really great about our city disposition process. I think we're pretty good at finding buyers for the sort of mid-range properties, the ones that need quite a bit of work but aren't in terrible condition. But the ones that either need a ton of work end up sitting here on our list for a while, and then eventually the city ends up having to demolish them. And the ones that are in really good shape, we often get insultingly low bids for. And so that, I think, is where the land bank is the perfect complement to the program we have. They can take those properties that we're getting very low bids on the market through our process for, and they can do a little bit more, maybe a little bit of renovation and certainly a lot more marketing and going through a more detailed buying process and find buyers who are willing to pay closer to market value for those ones that are in decent shape, and thereby help fund those projects that would otherwise just be sitting on our rolls for years. So I appreciate that model. I'm curious in exploring more about the model of taking over the process entirely. But I think this is a good compromise. I think this is a good balance between our existing process and maybe what some other land banks are doing. So, but we have had lots of conversations in the past where we don't quite get to the point of giving the land bank the good ones that we aren't getting good bids on. And so I think we should strengthen those ties and make sure that we really are assessing our list for both. These are properties that we need the land bank to focus on or to develop for us, as well as these are properties that we're not getting bids that are anywhere close to market value. Maybe that's an opportunity for the land bank to be involved. So I think that's a good model. I think we're starting to move towards that. It certainly seems like relationships are still being built there, but I think it's a good direction to go.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Thank you. I just want to let you know that I did go back into my notes and I did find it. There was only one property that was the same, and that's 836. You've got it down in the potential, the bundle. 836 is a 3-family reverting back to the Troy Land Bank. So that's the only property that was the same with Troy Housing. Everything else was different. But I'd like to touch back on the reverter clause. If you can just go over that just a couple more seconds with me on that. Isn't it, or am I misinformed that when a property is given, they have 6 months to start the process, 6 months to have something, or I think it's 6 months to have it started going. And if it doesn't, then you guys start the reverter clause to take it back?
Do you want to jump in?
So, sure. No, so there's a lot that goes on with enforcement. Legally speaking, and I'm just going to give you the legal, I'm not going to get into the facts of this property, that property,
Right.
but we have an enforcement note, okay, which places a lien on the property, which is what we use it's part of what we use to take a property back, but it enforces the project. So as an addendum to that enforcement note is that buyer's proposal, right? Their application, what they said they're going to do. And yes, we have an enforcement policy that we like to see them meet certain milestones. But as you know, developers, things happen. You could get permits in 90 days instead of 30 days and still finish the property. So normally in that enforcement note, there's a 1-year period. Legally speaking, we can't do anything about taking that property back or even making them do anything until that year is up, because they essentially have that whole year period to finish that project. So in addition to that, in the deed, when we transfer the property, and I believe this is also pursuant to the MOU that we have with the city of Troy, we have a reverter clause in the deed that is also, legally speaking, a second cause of action, right, to get the property back as a matter of law, like a deed reversion, instead of foreclosing on the enforcement note mortgage, or in this case, when I bring my actions, I bring both causes of action. But again, unless and until, and in that deed, it says the year period as well, you can't legally do anything about taking those properties back until that period is up. And I'll also just note too, that sometimes ahead of time, the developers may negotiate a longer period of time, 18 months, possibly 24 months if it's a new build. I can't think of any off the top of my head that we did that. Maybe I'm thinking of Albany, but because we know it's the dead of winter, it's, December 30th and we're closing, and you won't be able to do anything until the weather's nicer. So you're going to lose 5 months right there at the front end of that enforcement note. So there's all these things at play. So no, there is no 6 months to get started or 6 months to, we can take it back. It's really that 1 year from the date we close. We have to hit that mark before we can do anything legally to take that property back.
So the property that I'm thinking of is the 3211 on 7th, Swift.
They were at planning board for like 8 months. It was crazy.
Well, if you let me finish, I was down there at the planning board because my understanding is they came into this and they purchased it from Land Bank. And from what the Land Bank people were telling me, that it was for the 6 units, but then once they got the property, they were going in to try to change it to a 12 unit. And so to me, that was like here I'm going to tell the Land Bank one thing, and then I'm going to try and circumvent and go another way and get more out of it. And that's why they were going to planning. But that's where I was looking back to the reverter clause on that one there, because they more or less just said they were walking away from it. So that's what I'm under the assumption it's going to end up back with the Land Bank.
Yes, and it is. They're actually going to transfer that back to us probably sometime this week. The legal nuance of all of this, which you wouldn't know, and that's okay, is that when they go to their project is subject to the approval of the planning board, right? So that is a contingency of the project. And unless and until that they don't meet that, what they should have done if they wanted to continue the project, and we asked them to do this if they wanted to move forward, is asked us for an extension, right? We're going to move forward with 6. Great. How long do you need? And then we would sort of start that timer over. But they didn't. And so we kept saying, we'd like the property back. COVID hits, I can't go to court, right? They won't let me file anything. So finally, when that was lifted and I served them, that's when they came back to the table and said, oh, wait, we'll give it back. No worries. And I said, okay, no problem, but you could have given it back to me 6 months ago when we asked you, but you didn't. So, my hands are tied until at least that 1 year period is up, and or any contingencies of the project are met. Like, you can't just take something back when that contingency hasn't been met yet. So there's a lot in play here, as you can see from our discussion, about enforcing the progress versus being able to take it back and what our legal rights are. And really, we don't have any until that 1 year period is up or a contingency isn't met.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Kate. Further questions for Tony and Kate?
Carmela, can I just comment on Monica's suggestion?
Sure.
I did have several conversations with Steve, and it was very, 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 very helpful. And I think he's mostly up to speed on what we're doing. He may not be 100%. But I did have some questions to ask Sharon, and I found out she was on vacation. So my fear was that there was going to be a recommendation tonight by the Finance Committee, and I didn't want it to hurt the land bank. So that's why I was proposing an amended resolution. But I think Monica makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to request that our action be withdrawn from tonight's agenda so that we do have the time to check into the things that have come up in the various conversations, and so that Steve and Sharon Martin are fully aware and on board.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I must tell you, I'm sure the rest of the council feels similar. And I think the one question I do have, though, I think tonight, we'll act to move forward on what's in front of us. We have 2 weeks, obviously, to work on what you sent us. And obviously, this legacy program is an amazing opportunity. But you did mention, I believe, in your email, one of the properties that actually is on tonight's agenda that you were requesting be removed. Do you still want that removed? And that's the 863 River, or no?
Yes, I would like to remove that. 863 River is in, after we submitted our list, I since was able to find out from code enforcement that the conditions of the building are so severe that it can't be saved.
Okay.
And I did have a bit of a game plan with a neighboring property, but it's just not going to work out. So I don't think it's something we could really do anything with at this point in time.
Okay. The council, when we get to that piece of legislation, Tony will discuss that amendment. Okay, awesome. And Tony and Kate, if all are good, we'll move into the agenda. I truly thank you for joining us. I think you clarified some things for the council. For me, I must tell you, I've seen land banks throughout the state work amazingly, and I've seen a couple with challenges, and saying that I know you came on board, I want to say 3 years ago approximately, or
October 2017.
2017. Wow, geez, time flies. Yeah, so 3.5 years ago, and you and I have had interactions with your prior Malta with Luther Forest, and you certainly have stellar background, Tony. So, obviously we want to see the land bank succeed, as all of us have indicated here tonight and before tonight. So we want to work to make it a successful land bank, and obviously Schenectady's, I think they were first out the door. So they're going like gangbusters, and I think they're a good model, and we'll get there. I truly believe we'll get there. And maybe this legacy program with COVID will be that, next step to really kick it into gear.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
before we move into the agenda, I just remember when Tony mentioned, or you mentioned 863 River, that reminded me, we have a constituent who sent in a letter, who asked the letter to be read.
Oh, yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
and we talked about that before the meeting, so I think I'd like to read that into the record.
Yep, great
And that would
idea.
also allow Tony and Kate to respond in any way that they see fit, if you're
Yep.
okay with that.
Thank you, thank you.
So we had one of my constituents on the east side, Rich Herrick, sent in a letter. He's having-
Councilmember, I apologize. Also, just for folks out there, we aren't reading letters, but for this instance, if you could explain why. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Mr. Herrick has a medical condition where he really can't speak anymore, or barely can speak. So he asked me as his representative to speak on his behalf. Again, these are not my comments, Tony and Kate. These are the comments of a constituent in the neighborhood. He said, I would like to offer the following comments on the proposed land bank transfers and ask the council to either vote no on the resolution or again, table the resolution. The land bank's supporting information submitted clearly indicates that the land bank has no funds or funding sources in place to take on the necessary financial commitments it wishes to take on with the proposed acquisitions. Indeed, the land bank recently had to take out an $80,000 equity loan on one of its properties, as it did not have enough cash on hand to even pay existing bills. The land bank also states that future funding by the state attorney general's office is highly unlikely. Now he lists some properties with a comment on them. 871 River Street should not be transferred. The land bank proposes to quote unquote bank this parcel for the Troy Housing Authority's for-profit partner Beacon Communities. In my opinion, land bank should not be used to keep property off the tax rolls until such time as funding for the Fallon project is in place. Acquisition would also burden the land bank with costs associated with banking properties for upwards of a year or so, money it does not have. 863 River Street should not be transferred as the land bank has no funds to demolish the building. I find it odd also that the land bank in its supporting information is proposing to work towards demolishing an adjacent building, 865 River, which it does not even own. 3340 6th Avenue should not be transferred. The land bank states that it needs extensive stabilization for which there is no identified funds to accomplish. It is also my understanding that another land bank property down the street, 3229 River Street, has a roof which is collapsing. That property should be addressed first prior to the land banks acquiring more properties. 3230 6th Avenue should not be transferred as the building has no clear funding in place to perform necessary work on the building. This building, I understand, also had attractive bids on it, which, if accepted, would put the building immediately back on the tax rolls and rehabbed and reoccupied in a timely manner. As the executive director is available, I would like to ask if the land bank is willing to drop this building from its list. It would be in the best interest of the land bank and the city. 17 Park Avenue should not be transferred without having actual funding in place. The land bank has noted that the building requires gut renovation, but no funds. I don't know what he's saying here, no funds to accomplish. Please consider also the fact that the land bank is also dealing with other problem buildings it owns, including 791 River, where they recently, I understand, fired the contractor of the building and will have to hire a new contractor to finish the building at an estimated additional cost of over $150,000, in addition to the $224,500 already spent on the building. In summary, please vote no on this resolution until such time as firm in-place funding is secured. Thank you, Richard Herrick, 29 Desson Ave, Troy. That's the end of the.
And which property was he asking for
Yes.
us to?
Yeah, so what's the question?
Remove.
Is there a question from the council member?
No, I'm not asking a question. I'm reading a comment into the record from a constituent who can't speak. The property that he was talking about that had attractive bids on it also was, I think, 3230 6th Avenue.
Well, I mean, I think Tony could, we don't have time to go through building by building, but one generalization I will say is that much of those comments suggest that we'll be doing any of the work on the buildings when, quite frankly, all it is a scope of work for a potential developer who would need to complete the work. So we wouldn't even necessarily need funds. Land banks take the properties all the time to just provide a scope of work and flip it. That's how we make money. So I'm not quite sure. I think the assumption is we need money to fix up every property we get, and that's just not true. Tony?
I think what Richard doesn't realize in this particular instance is because he emailed me earlier today and suggested that the land bank not take buildings if it doesn't have funding for it. Well, we're in a situation where if we don't have buildings, we cannot apply for the HCR grant. Therefore, we need the buildings, or there's going to be 5 to 10 renovations that will either not happen or will probably be undertaken by folks who may or may not do a very good job. After HCR scrutinizes the developer, we recommend, I have no doubt that it will be a successful project. It's major leagues when it's at HCR.
Mr. President.
You're muted.
Mute. Councilmember Cummings.
Thanks. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I think in general, I'm comfortable moving forward today. I would ask you to just take a look at that 3236th Ave. As noted, we did receive several decent bids on that one. That's the only one of the several that we did. So if it is something that you feel like you can replace with another one between now and the next meeting, let us know. I don't want to ask you that on the floor now, but do take another close look at 3236th Ave. And be ready to speak with us, or maybe I'll just give you a call about it in a week and a half or something.
Okay, that's fine.
But that should be good for now.
Okay. Further discussion. We have quite a hefty agenda in front of us. So I recommend possibly moving forward, but it does sound like a number of conversations will be happening over the next 2 weeks, Tony. And when we get to that item, we will discuss removing 863 River. Okay? And
Okay.
Tony,
I appreciate the conversations.
Yep. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you to the folks out there who joined the public forum. We appreciate your comments also. Thanks.
And thanks for your support.
Okay. All right, let's get into the agenda. I'll let Tony phase out. While we're in the agenda, I'm just going to ask folks in the administration and the mayor to just put their videos on. It, I think, is just so much more personal for us. And I know a couple of council members privately also asked me if you wouldn't mind doing that, please. Well, I can't make you, it's just a request. So let's get into the agenda and we'll get right into it. All right, ordinance 45, no local laws. Ordinance amending chapter 124 of the Troy City Code, Council President Mantello. So the first one, you know what, real quick, this won't be quick, but I do want to go into this a little bit. I call this legislation to be or not to be as in BEE. So saying that, I really never thought I would delve into, you know, beehiving and bee farms and, you know, the whole buzz around bee farming, but I do understand, you know, obviously the benefits of beehiving, the benefits of bee farming. Obviously, this evening, folks heard from Denise. And, you know, Denise actually was the person who brought this issue to my attention. And, you know, one of the things I found obviously is that beehiving is certainly beneficial. We know that urban bee farming actually has become a huge trend. Doing my research in terms of beehiving, what I have found obviously is outside of honey. Beehiving is great for pollination, great for our fruits, great for our food, and certainly, you know, really adds to the environmental health of a community. But I also found through Denise and talking to beekeepers that there really is a true balance. And just today I spoke to a beekeeper, and the beekeeper really also educated me on what she is doing in her neighborhood to really balance her bee farms with her neighborhood. So who would have thunk? We have quite a few, I don't know about quite a few, but we do have some bee farms here in the city of Troy. What I have found in my research is a couple of things that, you know, some communities ban it altogether, such as Ithaca, Geneva, some Long Island communities, North Hempstead, I believe, and others. And certainly that's not my goal here. And that's why I spoke to beekeepers. That's why I've spoken to Denise. I know that Councilmember McDermott will also add in maybe at some point her visit to Luther Street and what she pictured firsthand. I did finally, I was able after session to take a drive down, and I truly was astounded at what this particular beekeeper is doing. So I truly believe there's a balance. There are so many responsible beekeepers out there. So I really want to make it clear, this is not anti-beekeeping. It's not anti-bee farming. There are so many good people out there really working with their neighborhood to balance bee farming and the needs of the community, public protection, public safety, and public health. So saying all of that, in my research, and I did contact Patty Sulkin. Patty and I go a ways back. She is a renowned urban planner, planning background. She's from Albany Law, and she actually did this amazing, which she submitted to Boston College, an amazing article under Albany Law School, but for Boston College, Honey, it's all about the buzz, regulating neighborhood beehives. So saying that, she gives, and I will send it to folks, just incredible insight. Obviously, the benefits of the pollination, community gardens, home vegetable gardens, you name it, adds to the local economy, retail stores that they can tap into, the bee honey. But certainly in residential area, we are not, you know, swaths of land in certain neighborhoods, and there are challenges. So essentially, after discussing this with Patty, I did find a few things that I'd like to put together through this legislation, a small working group, very informal, a beekeeper, the administration. I know James in planning has done quite a bit of research with this, and obviously code, and hopefully the administration to work together. And I do have a 45-day moratorium for newbies, new bee farms. That 45-day moratorium, I would like to amend to actually include language 45 days or sooner, because if we can obviously establish these regulations and guidelines to really balance the needs of the neighborhood and continue this really cool trend of what I found of beekeeping. What I did find, just so folks are aware, lot sizes, colony density regulations, limiting, as mentioned earlier, the number of hives within urban areas to prevent bee populations from outgrowing. Also, some folks require a lot size of maybe 7,500 square feet for the first hive, 5,000 square feet for additional hives. This can all be looked at by the beekeepers and the folks. You should know the beekeeper I spoke to today has offered to serve on that small working group to really make sure that we get beekeepers at the table with folks. Real quick, setbacks like minimum lot size requirements, essentially to decrease the potential nuisance effort. One municipality, beehives are required to be at least 10 feet from any lot line, 10 feet from any dwelling, 30 feet from a public sidewalk or roadway. Also, some municipalities have a small sign.
Council President?
Yeah.
Real quick. Just procedurally, we don't have a motion yet.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. All right, so on, I apologize. I thought we did. So I apologize. Ordinance
45.
Uh-oh. I think she logged herself off.
I think the bees got her.
Oh, no.
Buzzword.
She got stung.
She'll be coming back.
Okay, I guess while we're waiting for her to come back, let's get it on the floor. Ordinance 45 is an ordinance amending chapter 124 of the Troy City Code. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Gully, seconded by Councilperson McDermott. And I'm sure Council President will want to discuss, but I suppose in the interest of time, we should start discussing now. I don't know.
Take the vote.
Okay, I'm going to text her. Hang on. Let's take the vote.
We need
All
to
in
make,
favor?
we need to make the amendment to, she wanted,
Okay. I apologize. I
Okay.
apologize. Do we have a motion and a second while I was gone?
Yes, we do. Yes.
All right. I'm so sorry. So ordinance 45. So in a nutshell, what I'd like to do with this moratorium is first, 45 days or less, I do want to offer an amendment after we discuss it or sooner. This essentially will give us time to have uniformity throughout the city. Like I said, I never thought that, this would, I would be delving into beekeeping, and a beekeeper would be at the table to develop these guidelines, these regulations. And essentially, as the beekeeper said, I wouldn't mind knowing going into a city what the regulations, what the guidelines are in that particular municipality regarding beekeeping. So this is not prohibiting beekeeping, it's just balancing the neighborhood's needs with beekeepers. So I'll open it up and be happy to answer questions.
Council President?
Yep, Councilmember Cummings.
I was just trying to get in under the edge of this moratorium, so I went online to go bee shopping. But I did find that you couldn't really order bees right now until next March, because beehives are generally just delivered in the spring when the bees are dormant. And obviously now the bees are active. We're hearing that from many folks. And so it's the moratorium. I'm not going to oppose it particularly because it doesn't particularly do anything. I am a little concerned just about the message that it sends. We're seeing a lot of concern on social media, and a moratorium sounds like a draconian measure. I think as we've seen in this case, what we're really doing is establishing a working group to work out the regulation, which I think makes a lot of sense. I guess my preference would be to maybe withdraw this and actually have a resolution just establishing a working group that maybe we introduce at the next meeting. But I honestly don't care enough because it doesn't seem like it will actually impact anyone in the near term.
Yeah, and if we want to change the word moratorium, I'm fine with that, you know, a temporary, you know, halt, I don't know, whatever. If moratorium.
There's an existing halt, nature has a halt on it for the next.
Well, I get that,
months.
but I'm not withdrawing the legislation. I mean, you know, honestly, I've spoken to beekeepers. I will tell you the social media buzz after you talk to people about it. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, as we all know, sometimes, you know, folks may see a paragraph, a story, legislation, etc., but not have all the background with it. And unfortunately, I didn't post it, but somebody just posted like, you know, half of the legislation. But that's okay because I spent all day Saturday talking with lots of folks and half of the day Sunday. And, you know, I must tell you, in all of this, you know, endeavor here, and Denise, I thank her greatly. It certainly educated me about, you know, not just obviously the incredible benefits outside of honey. We all knew honey, but I mean, I really delved into it and learned so much about bee farming and beehiving. And I think Councilmember McDermott also probably learned quite a bit too. And you know, I've spoken to folks also throughout the state, and a friend who works at Cornell. So saying that if we want to change the word moratorium, but yes, this is not the time to buy your bees, but you never know if somebody does decide, you know, who knows. So this just puts it on pause for 45 days or less. And the working group, I didn't want to make it formal. I wanted to make it informal. This beekeeper has offered to sit at the table with our folks. And then obviously someone representing the public and code and somebody in the administration, just, you know, to work on regulations and guidelines that make sense. That's all.
Council President?
Yes.
So we are in the middle of redoing our zoning code. And I actually introduced James Rath and Steve Streichman, who handle this area of our administration of our city, not to divide us, but of our city code. What I would recommend, because I don't think I'm going to convince you to table this, what I would recommend is that you actually, the working group is the group doing this work right now. We are literally rewriting every aspect of our city code. It is a new city code for zoning. It does have the urban farming component in it. So what I would recommend is that your beekeeper and your chosen resident, if it's Denise or somebody else, and one of the chosen representatives from the city council actually meets with James and River Street Planning and Steve and actually go in that direction, because they're already drafting the work. They're presenting it in the fall. And they're going to have community meetings. They're going to go through the whole process of what it takes to redo your zoning ordinance. I would highly recommend that process because we already are in process and they're already working with setbacks citywide. They can actually blend it right into the existing code that's going to be presented, probably not too long after you have your moratorium up.
Oh, that works. I mean, so the moratorium won't conflict. We'll have a couple of our folks be on this small working group to work with James and Steve.
And River Street, they would actually be like advisors to them.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. And then, but the problem is I think your moratorium, since it's the end of June, is going to expire probably like August 5th. And we're looking to present it in the fall. So, you know,
people don't buy bees till March.
Well, that's what I'm kind of going with Anasha right now.
Yeah,
you know,
but I really
but wait, hold on a second. But it's not like we're going to ask this gentleman on Luther Street to tear down his bees, are we?
Right. Did I say that? No, but
I'm asking. Right. No, and that's why I'm asking, because I think that that's the challenge, is that there's no bees to be bought right now, and no, unless people are transferring bees, which I don't think they would even be doing that now because they wouldn't change it. I'm just saying, the process is pure right now through planning, through the work that we're doing to redo the city code. I'd like this to be an active part of that. That's what I'm requesting, instead of it being a separate group that's going to write something
Oh,
that we're
yeah.
going to potentially change in September. I want it to be actual right now.
Okay, and I can amend the legislation to reflect that, but I do want to say, we are not certain if someone does add to their farm and they are able to. I'm not certain of that. And quite frankly, the beekeeper that I spoke to 2 days ago did state you can transfer very easily. So, I would like a more, if we want to change the name of a moratorium, but I would like it on pause regarding new bee farms here in the city of Troy until we do get a handle on it. So, I'm open for discussion in terms of amending it and softening the moratorium, the name, but, quite frankly, I just want to make sure that the Denises of the world and others are, please drive down Luther, and for irresponsible beekeepers, clearly there are some folks out there that, are potentially a bit irresponsible. So I'm not looking at a separate group, Monica, and certainly these few folks we can blend, with James, with Steve. Obviously, I would like code involved because they may have just some ideas in terms of the setbacks and all that. So if we want to take a look at the legislation, I'm open to amending it. I don't know if the moratorium is too harsh language, but I'm open if somebody wants to take a stab to work with me. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. So, Monica, how long would you say you stated September?
Well, what I would do is, by the time it's approved, because it's got to go through a legislative process, a community meeting process and a legislative process, why don't you put the moratorium at 6 months by the end of the year?
Okay.
I mean, again, people
I
can't buy
hear
them now, so.
Yeah, I hear you. So thank you. So do we want to soften the name of moratorium?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman.
My opinion on it, the word moratorium is exactly what this is.
Yeah,
It is a
thank you.
temporary prohibition on doing something. The word mora it comes from the Latin, means delay. It's the right word. I don't think we should be
Okay.
afraid of the word.
I was trying to be sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to work with everyone. Maybe the bees got to me. So saying that, we'll keep moratorium, we'll change the 45 days. What I would like to say, or sooner. How about that, Monica? 6 months or sooner, would that work? Okay. So further discussion before I make a motion to amend.
Council President,
Yes, council member.
I wonder about, well, I'm working on a potential amendment reflecting the discussion, but I can just keep working on that and we'll discuss it later.
Oh, my Lord. Okay.
Council
All right.
President,
Yes, council member Gully.
if you're gonna amend it and you're not gonna stop the beekeepers that have their process, I
Yeah.
think you need to negate the word maintain. It was brought up by another council person today that brought that to me, and I think that that's very important.
Okay.
And she was right on.
Install.
point with that.
Yep. Very good, council member. Thank you. So if all are okay, I will make a motion to amend. And remember, this is finance. It's not being voted on tonight. So it'll be back in 2 weeks. I'd like to make a motion to amend no person shall install, or otherwise I'll take out maintain. Mara, hopefully you're following, or otherwise establish new beehives or new facilities for keeping bees within the city of Troy for a period of 6 months or less from the effective date hereof. The Bureau of Code Enforcement shall enforce the provisions of this article. So I've made a motion. Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second the amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Zaluski seconds on the discussion of the amendment. Okay, all in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, on the amended ordinance, ordinance 45, the amended ordinance, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion. I don't know, Councilmember McDermott, but can you at least tell folks what you saw, please?
I was in the area on Luther Street several weeks ago, and I was driving around with someone that was knocking on doors, and I happened to turn around on the dead end street. And when I pulled up and got out, there were many bees all around me, and they were all out of their hives, or many were out of their hives. And I actually did speak with a woman across the street and did notice all the spots on her house. And I believe it's a safety issue right now. So I'm just looking for some changes, possibly with some setbacks, and maybe limit the number per size of the property, and just to make some changes on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further discussion?
Council President,
Yes,
I just want to
Councilmember.
say that Councilperson McDermott should love bees. It looks like she's got a hive right behind her, actually.
It does.
I do like these.
I like bees. I do, and I have learned to even like them even more, but you know, there's certainly a balance, so. On the amended ordinance, further discussion,
Council President,
Councilmember Cummings.
I think I just barely beat the clock there. I would like to propose an amendment to convert it from a moratorium to an advisory group. I will share my screen on that for a moment. I think.
So do you not want to ban new hives or new farms?
My sense is that that is just theater at this
No,
point.
It's not. Councilmember Cummings, I take great exception to that comment. I really do. Talking to a beekeeper told me point blank that even though right now is not the prime time for bees, that to transfer them is very easily done, and to add to them is very easily done. So I apologize. I mean, I put a ton of time into this, and to turn around, just throw out a moratorium after a woman literally told you that she can't even get the bee, whatever they're dropping outside of the honey, because it's more than honey, and it's not coming off her mailbox. It's not coming off her house. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, we're legislators, and we have to at least find a common ground here. And I believe my legislation does that. So you have a proposal, go for it.
Yes, my proposal would be to amend it to establish an advisory group on beekeeping to work with ongoing rezoning efforts and establish guidelines and regulations for the installation and maintenance of beehives and new facilities for keeping bees within the city of Troy. I suppose that part would also be unnecessary at that point. So this would still enable all the work that we're talking about doing and encourage it without.
Well, that's being done under my proposal. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. Second, Councilmember Steele, discussion. Take a slow roll, Councilmember Gully.
No, I think we are becoming too far into this.
I love it, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
No.
Councilmember Steele,
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings,
Yes.
Councilmember Zaluski.
I thought that we were already, based on what Monica said, that we're doing this already. So maybe I'm not following what the change is, but I support the moratorium, so I'll say no.
Councilmember McDermott.
No.
Okay, the motion fails 5-2. Oh, Council President Mantello, no. Motion fails 5-2 on the amended ordinance as proposed. We have a motion, we have a second, further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, ordinance passes, 6 ayes, 1 no. All right, that was ordinance 45. I want everyone to know we got through one piece of legislation. I'm kidding. Ordinance 46, ordinance amending the 2021 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that is the Oasis Marina. Ordinance 47, ordinance transferring funds within the 2021 water fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion.
Chair, Council President,
Yep, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
hi, Andy, can you look at the line utilities? It's going, it looks like it's almost doubling. Can you explain that?
And
Going
Chris.
from 5,000 transfer to, let's bring it to 11,000?
Yeah, in the memo that is attached, it's an increase in cellular control of offsite properties. The bills have increased. It's a right sizing of the account.
So what's increasing? What's the utilities, the cellular increasing?
Maybe Chris could answer. Chris, it looks like, yeah, the offsite properties.
Yeah, cellular is, I'm getting an echo here.
I know.
Is increasing because we have sewer monitors now, and they're all on rising cell cards. We can get readings not here at the water plant, and they all have a monthly fee with them. So the costs are going up on the cell side.
How many phones is this on? Every one of the DPU's phones?
Yeah, plus all of our monitors. We have 2, 3, 5 sewer monitors, 6, 7 sewer monitors that send a signal back to the water plant via cell card. So we have a fee on all of those also.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mara asked, make sure you only have one speaker on. So
So
I
people
think
are on their phones and their computers at the same time. Somehow you might be getting an echo.
makes sense. Okay, thank you, Mara. Okay, so we have a motion, second. Thank you, Chris. Ordinance 47, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, ordinance 47 carries 7-0. Ordinance 48, ordinance amending the capital projects fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. This is Siemens Phase 3. And Monica, I believe this is the 110 streetlights. Can you tell us why there's a 240 increase?
Yes, I certainly can. So when CDBG does their work throughout the city, when they work with National Grid, we all know that National Grid owns all the wires and all of the stuff, and they pull all that and then they place the pole for us. Well, what happened is when we did this, we thought that all the wire had been pulled and all the work had already been pre-done, and that is not the case. So this actually adds the wiring component to the 108 lamp poles. of which they are ready to go. The poles are actually being delivered. We're trying to find a location to store them right now. And so we're ready to get going. But it was this really weird scenario where it was just these poles that weren't originally included in the original work, because we assumed that it was one way and it turns out it was another way.
Okay. Further questions, discussion? Okay, we have a motion, a
Council
second.
President, Council President.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilmember.
I just want to
Ashman
make one
Pearson.
comment. When we're getting these agendas and so forth and some backup, and the memo and support, can we have a little bit more information? I was trying to figure out what this was about. And the information, the memo and support was very vague. So if we could just have more information on that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
And, oh, Monica, over on 112th Street, I apologize. I know that you gave me a timeline. Has that changed at all for the historic lighting down there? A couple of folks.
That's what we're talking about.
Yep. So timeline on that?
Well, you have to approve this.
Yeah.
And then we have to issue a purchase order to the company, and then we will get busy.
Okay.
So I don't know if, as far as how long it'll take to install, but they'll be looking to start that. And they'll actually be installed as LEDs. So because we'll own them. So it'll actually be ahead of the purchase of the others.
Okay. Further questions? Councilmember Cummings.
Well, we're talking about historic lights. What's going on with Monument Square?
So I knew you were going to ask that. I was almost just said that.
Sorry.
No, because I know Carmela probably saw Seamus too. So, so the streetlights that are there on Monument Square that were replaced with HBO, they are very strictly temporary in nature. So National Grid still owns those light fixtures, so they will replace them. What we will do, when we look at the budget, if we have some wiggle room, there might be a possibility that we can actually look to do those in the historic lighting as well too, and take like right beside the Ilium, there was a Cobra head right there, and then there was those weird green ones across from the Truly Re on the monument itself. So we'll take a look at it, but right now that is going to get replaced back to what National Grid had there. If I can get them to swing it without adjusting our purchase price right now, because we are at the PSC. I sent you all an update the other day. So we obviously will have a final inventory to set the purchase price to close. So we'll see. I agree. They look wonderful. Mike and Seamus posted that. I think they look good. So if I can get them, figure out a way to flip them, I will.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 48 carries 7-0. Ordinance 49, ordinance amending Chapter 216 of the Troy City Code. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ashman McPherson. I have a couple questions on this one, if you don't mind. So I'm really psyched. I mean, just to, throw it out there to obviously get our marina up, get it running. I am hearing good things about Oasis, and hopefully they can obviously not only manage the marina properly and efficiently, but really get people, I mean, the whole goal here is to get people downtown, to get people, to park along the wall. That obviously all of us worked so hard and invested so much money and created so many partnerships. But, my goal is to obviously see folks park along the wall and spend some time at our businesses, take some walks along the downtown, and hopefully into some other neighborhoods, and hopefully maybe even Uber it to other neighborhoods. Saying that though, being that obviously the wall, public monies, and we know it's for dual purposes, flood mitigation, also obviously to encourage folks to come into our downtown, use the waterfront as the front door to economic development, to tourism, the whole shebang. I do have a little concern from going from the 3 hours to 1 hours for the free docking. And then additionally, I was looking, so I kind of said, maybe if we came in the middle, because obviously we didn't have a marina last year, and you know, we've obviously a lot of money went into this. I want to see it a huge success, but I think going from 3 hours free docking to 1, I just think it's just a huge, not a good message. I'd like, it was public monies that went into the docking. So I was thinking maybe of coming in the middle to 2. This is just me talking out loud. And then additionally, you know, and I am familiar with so many other public marinas who are operating, but also I was looking at the 8 p.m. And I was kind of thinking, you know, instead of like 1 hour of the 8 p.m. to more 10 p.m., make it a little later. People might be drawn not to leave Troy, not to go through, obviously, the federal lock at Waterford. I mean, obviously, we want folks to be enticed to stay there. And then the $2 per foot, I was kind of looking at $1 per foot. I mean, it's not huge monies. It's just me talking out loud, thinking out loud, and just kind of looking, you know, at other public docks throughout the state who, you know, their first year, you just want to make it a huge success. And, you know, one of the reasons I was looking at changing to 10 p.m. was the non-overnight docking instead of 8 p.m. because this could allow people, as I said, to come into downtown, spend some money, you know, instead of heading south or catching the last locking at the federal lock because the federal lock closes. And so without having to look at overnight rates, you know, and then maybe the $1 an hour instead of the $2. So just my 2 cents. I want it to be a success. The free docking really jumped out at me. So anyway.
Council President?
Yep, Councilmember Cummings.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly a big part of the benefit of the marina's location is that it brings boaters from the local region to come to downtown for a nice night out. And certainly 1 hour is not enough for that in Troy. And cut off at 8 p.m. also, certainly folks generally wait until the last lock, which is I think at 10 p.m.
Yep.
And so I don't think, again, is this on our special agenda?
Yes, it is. Okay. It is.
So it's probably a little tight to try to negotiate with the operators. Monica, have you had discussions with them about, you know, is there a system that they could run where, you know, with a validated receipt from a Troy restaurant, for example, you can get a discount? I could imagine them running some good programs like that beyond these rates, but I don't know. What have your discussions thus far been around how we incentivize folks to come hang out here in the evening?
So we are working with Oasis, and what they did was they did a Hudson River and surrounding area market survey of overnight pricing, day rates, and the electricity. That was part of what I asked them to do in order to come up with these rates. You know, I don't disagree with you. I think that, you know, when you look at the city code that I included in the legislation and I edited, the 8 p.m. is something that we've always had. So we didn't change that. So it's nothing new. So that's the way we've rolled. So if we can confirm that the federal locks close at 10, that is certainly something that we can take a look at. And what I would do is I would say, you know what, if you wanted to go to 10 p.m., leave it to the first 2 hours free. And then we can figure out something like that. And then if there's some sort of a dining incentive that we want to introduce later on, we can do that. There is other places that do. Shady Harbor down in New Baltimore does a free dining. If you go ahead and dine and you show you dined, then your day rate is free. So there are certainly things that we can take a look at. I think the biggest thing is for the overnight service, the AMP service. I will tell you, the first day we had fuel, which actually during the pride flag raising was the day that we filled the tanks. We sold $1,000 of fuel. So it is alive and well. It was busy over the weekend, and they had nothing but great things to say about the operators, about the marina itself. So if you wanted to look at, 2 hours free, and then I think that's fine. And then we can do the 10 p.m. as well too.
That's awesome. And the federal lock is till 10 p.m. So, I think that would be, potentially really good incentive. Thank you. I apologize, Councilmember Cummings.
No, I think that's all good. The other thing I wanted to clarify is obviously we've got one dock with electricity and one dock without it. I assume that'll just be up to the managers to go towards the.
Correct. So what I will tell you as well too, and that's why, so when you do if they need the electrical service, they'll actually go to the other marina versus the one down by the park. What I will say though, is that I do want to make sure that, I get a hold of the Oasis, because if they're looking at their staffing and we just passed their budget, allocating $147,000 for their, to kind of jumpstart their budget for it. We want to make sure that they've considered the 10 p.m. for their staffing as well too.
Well, I mean, certainly I'll say from my experience, typically when boaters come in and plan to stay late, you just give them a code to get down to their boat. You still lock it, but you give them a code to get down to their boat. You don't necessarily need to staff that time. I don't know whether that'll be how they manage it or whether we've got that system in place. But
and I'll work with them. I'll talk to them.
Okay.
Cool. The system's going online tomorrow. So they've literally got everything up and running already, and they're doing, they started taking reservations last weekend online. So their point of sale system's up tomorrow. So we really want to make sure that we get all this information in for them so that they can start doing some amazing reservations.
Very cool. So if there's not further discussion, I'll make a motion to amend A1. Is there further discussion? Okay, I'll make a motion to amend A1 from first hour free to first 2. So Laura, it'll read all vessels first 2 hours free. And then the second amendment, I'll make a motion to state A2, all vessels over, I did say, I would like, I don't know if this is too much, Monica, 2 hours up to 10 p.m. But if that's too much, I do think we need to kind of keep it in sync. So over 2 hours up to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is a second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, on the amendments. Is there discussion? Okay, on the amendments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? On the amended ordinance 49, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Mara, do you need that clarified?
I just want to ask, so do you also want to change A3? Is overnight going to be from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mara. Very good catch. Thank you. All right. So I will once again make a motion to add to the prior motion all vessels overnight 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. And I did talk about the dollar per foot. I would prefer that, but I don't know what that does. So I'll leave it at that. So
we're very competitive here.
yes. Yep. So we added, just so folks, 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. So I made a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Thank you, Mara. On the amendment, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? On the amended ordinance, ordinance 49, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion on the amended ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 49 carries 7-0. Thank you for working with all of us on that. Ordinance 50, ordinance transferring funds within the 2021 general fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I will make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes,
this
Councilmember.
is,
Zaluski.
this is a $6,500 transfer for an elevator, correct?
No, it's
is
actually
there-
out of, yeah, it's actually out of the elevator fund. This is the new parking tickets that Anasha had been asking and inquiring about to correct the back of the parking tickets. This is, it obviously was an expenditure that we anticipated. So we have to transfer the funds in order to replace all those tickets.
Oh, right, yeah, I'm sorry, I got that backwards, but so we are not going to repair the elevator then?
Right now, we're encouraging all departments to find funding within their departments. There's funding available in the repairs to elevator line. That's where the budget transfer is coming from. Obviously, if a repair is needed in this fiscal year, the funds will have to be found and transferred back to the account. But right now, there's funding available, and that's where the transfer is being proposed to come from.
But yes, we do repair the elevators.
Good to know, thank you.
And following up, I was just curious because it said elevator. So I was thinking one elevator, but it is for elevators.
No, elevator. We only have one parking garage elevator, and that's at the Fifth Avenue garage.
Okay, that answers my question. I didn't know if we potentially had an elevator somewhere else, and we were talking about that the other night. Thank you. Okay, further questions, discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I just want to thank the administration for working with me on this. Certainly really good to be able to let our residents know about the new updated online payment system. You no longer have to pay with cashier checks. You can pay online. So yeah, great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, long time coming. We're slowly entering the 20th century. No, very good. Further discussion? All in favor of ordinance 50?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 50 carries 7-0. Ordinance 51, ordinance amending the special revenue budget to accept a New York State Homeland Security grant for the purpose of cybersecurity. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 51 carries 7-0. Ordinance 52, ordinance amending the 2021 general, capital, and special grants fund budget. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I will make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Oh, second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, discussion.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
there's a lot
Yes.
going on here. There's, I think, 6 different, items that we're handling. So I guess I'd like maybe an overview if we could get one, please.
Absolutely. Andy, take it away.
And so what I was trying to do here was, as opposed to writing 6 different ordinances, essentially making it one and then writing the memo in support for each but through the reference number. So reference number 1, it closes out a Restore New York grant from several years ago that was never completed. So it's just bringing that budget to 0. And then reference 2 amends the special grants fund for the Restore New York grant that the council approved, I believe, 2 months ago for 701 River Street. So it's just bringing that budget and recognizing it within the fund so that everything is set up. Number 3 amends the capital projects fund to establish the revenue and expenditure accounts for the Hudson River Valley Greenway grant that the council approved several months ago. reference there was a $12,500 transfer needed for the local match for the federal street study, and sets up the accounts for that. Number 5, to complete the Campbell Ave and Spring Ave capital project, they do need another $25,000 for various invoices. So that's amending the general fund and the capital fund. For that funding is being provided from the general fund's contingency account. And number 6 is amending the special grants fund for the Chazen contract that the council approved at the last meeting earlier in June. I know that there's a lot going on. I wanted to try to do the ordinance this way, as like I said, as opposed to writing 6 different ordinances, combining them down into one, and then describing them in the memo in support.
Thanks, Andy. Do I still have the floor?
Yes, absolutely. Councilmember Zaluski.
So yeah, I do like the way you did that. First of all, I think it's more straightforward to actually be able to look at everything in one place. 2 quick questions. When we say the federal street study, that's a generic federal, that's a street study through the federal government. We're not actually talking about Federal Street in Troy, are we?
No, it is Federal Street. This is the roundabout in that whole area,
Okay, it is Federal
The
Street.
area, yeah, it's the area from the bridge to 6th Avenue, but I think we actually extended it up to 8th Street, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so that's a $37,000 study for that street?
That's what they're saying, yes.
Okay.
We're gonna have to rename it to the CDTC instead of federal, because that's where we're getting the funding though.
Right, the CDTC, yeah.
So the expense for that is $50,000. It's a $37,500 grant that funds it, along with a $12,500 match.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Second question. This is probably for Monica. This is not really a financial question, but with this Campbell Spring Ave intersection, what's the status of getting those sensors running?
I would have to get you an update on that. I'll email, I'm sitting in front of my computer, so I'll email Bill and Aaron with the council and see if they have an update. From what I mean, they're not there. I keep trying to explain that to them. But they are, the lights are on timers already. So
Right.
it's just not on the eye, right? To be able to change the time when there's a backup or there's a thing, but they are on timers. So they will cycle through the time. I do know that for a fact, but I'll email right now and get an update for you.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're on a timer. It's just, there's a lot of instances where, cars are sitting at one of the lights and there's no traffic coming from any other direction and they're just sitting there. And, I thought with this new intersection that we're using what we call smart lights, the intelligent lights that can change based on traffic flows, and that doesn't seem, anyway, I know you're aware of it, Monica, so if we could just look into it.
Okay. Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Thank you. Can somebody explain, I know when this bid first came in, I was under the assumption it was like in the 300,000. We've already transferred money before. We keep on transferring more money. Why are we transferring another 25,000 for facility upgrades? I'm sorry, this is for Campbell's. Yeah, this is for number 5. I apologize.
It's okay.
Just overruns. I will tell you there was one big expense that we had to pick up, and that was actually we had to modify, if you're coming up Spring Avenue and taking a right on Campbell Avenue, the turning radius there was too tight. And they actually had to carve out a little bit more of the area and then actually, put in more work and stuff like that. So I can have, what I'll do is also ask Aaron to provide an update on the budget and the additional $25,000. But I do know at the end there was some pretty significant work that had to be done on that little hill where that little house is.
Right, but I guess my concern is the bid that came in, the original bid was under 300 and some odd thousand, and now we're up to 470,000. So 100 and some odd $1,000 over than what they bidded.
We'll just get you the detail of what the change orders are. It happens. Change orders happen, but we'll get you a detail.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, questions? All in favor of ordinance 52? Opposed? 7 ayes, 0 noes. Ordinance 52, ordinance 53, ordinance amending chapter 216 of the Troy City Code. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Ash McPherson, Councilmember Zaluski. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember McDermott. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings and Zaluski. Discussion, I do want to thank the mayor, the administration for working with us on this. All of us, I believe, supported waiving the fees again this year for residents here in the city of Troy. And lo and behold, Councilmember Ash McPherson and I had talked about, well, hey, it'd be great just to permanently, and then Monica Kusiewski emailed and said, hey, wait a minute, we should permanently waive. So this is certainly bipartisan, and certainly the administration working hand in hand with the council for the benefit of our residents. So I just want to thank the mayor and thank the administration for everyone working together. So,
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I have a question for, I don't know if it's the mayor or the deputy mayor, but I just wanted to get clarification. Is there anything that is sold or that they use cash for on site besides the entry and exit fees or entry fees?
Yeah, no, I thought we established that they don't necessarily sell anything.
I just wanted to clarify that. Because yeah, I mean, certainly I have concerns about requiring them to manage a cash box over the course of the whole summer. The complications and difficulty and liability involved with that to collect, a few $5 fees from non-residents. It also adds significant, I don't know to what degree they actually check everyone's paperwork on the way in, but I'd be in favor of just striking this section entirely on fees and maybe adding a section saying that non-residents must be accompanied by a Troy resident. But certainly striking this, not that I understand the desire to reward Troy residents, but just in terms of the logistics of managing a cash box and everything involved with that, I'd prefer to just strike it entirely if we're only going to make $30 over the course of the summer.
President?
So I'll make a motion to just
Yep,
strike.
so there's a motion on the floor. First, we have to vote on the motion. So the motion is to make it free for non-residents also if a non-resident is accompanied by a resident. So there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
So to be clear, the motion is to strike the entirety of the section for pool fees, the daily fees section, and A.
So, but we want to make sure, obviously, so you want to strike out all of A?
Yep.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to strike all of A. Is there a second?
I guess to be clear, all of A that's shown here, not
Right.
not if there's more about the hours.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to strike A regarding the fees. So is there a second? Okay, there is no second. Regarding the discussion, Councilmember Ash McPherson, you asked to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is, a benefit to our residents of Troy. They've been collecting money for years. They're able to do it. There hasn't been any issues. There hasn't been any problems. And it's worked fine. This is something that, you go into other communities and the other communities are charged. So you go to Coles, they charge non-residents. I don't see where we need to wipe this out. I think it should be kept for no charge for our residents of Troy and the fee for non-residents.
Okay. Further discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zalusky.
Well, while we're discussing this, and this is again probably for Monica, I'm at some point, I'm guessing we're going to reopen our tennis courts in Prospect Park, and I know traditionally we have charged, I think it's Joe and I forgot her name, the tennis pros at Prospect Park, and we've charged $5 for everyone that comes in to play. I'd love to have that. We're talking about having kind of a quote unquote bonus for residents. Really like to have the Prospect Park tennis courts be free for residents and charge for non-residents if we can move in that direction. I know that we're not covering that with this legislation tonight. I just wanted to, because it's related, I wanted to throw it out there.
I think it's a great idea, Councilmember Zalusky, and maybe the administration, Deputy Mayor, Mayor can look into that. I think it's a great idea. Further discussion, me regarding the residents and non-residents, for me, it's not about making money off of non-residents. I think it sends a message to the people of Troy that, it's something small, but it's a give back. And to me, it's more the significant message that we send to the people of Troy. So for me, that's more why I did not vote in favor of your amendment, Councilmember Cummings. But I understand where you're coming from. Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Cool. Ordinance 53 carries 7-0. Ordinance 54, ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit, City of Troy, New York, against Alpha Recreation 2, Inc. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalusky, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Rick Morrissey, you mind filling us in on this unfortunate and tragic fire, but hopefully Joe can rebound.
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize. I like to turn on my video when I'm speaking, but today I can't turn on my video. I don't know why. It won't go on. So this settlement is for essentially $236,000. That includes the full amount of the taxes owed on the property, which is over $50,000 at this point, including the interest and penalties, and a slight reduction on the actual demolition costs. I initially began negotiations with Mr. Scasia when the settlement check was issued by the insurance company in January. It was issued to both the City of Troy and Mr. Scasia and held by his public adjuster. So I treated it as any other claim, and sometimes, lawyers do negotiate amounts due sometimes in the interest of expediting a settlement. I've come to think better of that in discussion with other members of the administration, that is probably not a course that we should follow in the future. However, I try to keep my word, and I felt that in fairness to Mr. Scasia, who participated in this process with me without representation, even though he was offered the opportunity to have it. And so I did continue with the offer, and I gave him basically a letter that said you can either accept the offer or we will seek additional funds through our lien. He accepted the offer, and therefore I'm presenting it to the council the way it is. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to the city and fair to him. His claim on my sympathies largely resulted from the fact that he was taxed for 2019 at the full city rate, even though the property burned to the ground 68 days after the taxable status date. So he wasn't entitled to a reduction for that year.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Very detailed. Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 54 carries 7-0. Thank you, Rick. Ordinance 55, ordinance authorizing and directing transfers of city-owned real property to the Troy Community Land Bank Corporation. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott, discussion. I do have to make a motion, but we can discuss before I make a motion to amend to take River Street at the request that we just heard, 863 River, to take it off. But is there any discussion on these properties?
Yeah,
Sounds
Council
like-
President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
I guess I want to kind of check the pulse of the council on 3236, which Mr. Herrick brought up. And Rich, by the way, I think he's a past member of the land bank as well. So, he has some experience with it. But that property had interest from multiple proposers, during the foreclosure, the in-rem process. And I don't know, I thought I think Rich has an interesting idea there with, if there's that much interest in the property, maybe it makes more sense to allow people to develop that land, find a good, a good proposal that would redevelop it. But, I could go either way on it. I'm just throwing it out there. So I want to see what other members think. And the administration as well, by the way.
Council President.
Yep, Monica, please.
So as the founder of the land bank, right, and Richard Herrick was actually one of our founding board members, as was the mayor. So we just heard Kate Hedgeman, who I created the land bank and all of its policies and procedures with. She just explained in some amazing detail their reverter process, their follow-up process, their everything on that. One of the benefits of working with the land bank is they have the ability to do that kind of a clawback. Our reverter process is not as great as theirs. Ours takes a lot of litigation. It takes a lot of leeway. It's not clearly written in the code. Councilwoman McPherson was actually just reverting. The 6 months and 6 months is actually written in our code. The capacity at which our staff can manage that process is limited because of everything else that we have to do. So what I would probably recommend is that what we should do is refer those other individuals to actually work with the land bank and purchase the property from the land bank so that they can institute those clawbacks and they can institute those programs and be able to help usher them through the process. And by chance, if there was a funding stream available for them as well, they'd be able to tap into that. So that is actually the original intention of the land bank, is to actually help assist the city in its process of real estate transactions. We have another thing on the agenda tonight that is something that is supposed to help alleviate those kind of controversies. So it's meant to help the city. They have tremendous access. When I was running it, we demoed a tremendous amount of buildings in North Central. We put plans together. We started the ability to do land banking, which is an actual thing. It's not a negative thing, to be able to work on transit-oriented development. So if you would have interest in having some of those other people bid on that property, is we should introduce them to the land bank and then help the land bank in turn be able to get more money so that it can do the good work it is supposed to be doing.
Do I still have the floor?
You do, Councilmember Zaluski.
I think that was an excellent explanation. I think that's a great idea. You're right, that is the purpose of the land bank, and I think it would suffice in this instance. I withdraw my idea completely.
And honestly, Monica, you couldn't have said it better. And Councilmember Gully has been talking about this for quite some time. I don't know if you want to add anything, Councilmember.
Council President, no, I think the deputy mayor expressed it exactly as I'd expressed it to you and a couple other council people, that the land bank can benefit from the bids that were put on those properties by partnering with those developers. I don't know if they're trying to hold that particular property or any other ones into that legacy program, but I'm hoping that that would be the best venue for the city, because the land bank does do a lot of incredible things with properties that nobody else wants. But you can't just give them everything that nobody else wants and expect them to be able to return an investment enough to keep it carry on and grow. So allowing those investors that bid some quite handy bids on those properties, allowing them to work with the land bank would be a win-win for everybody. And Monica, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yep. Hit the nail on the head. I mean, the land bank's a tool and we need to use it, but it needs to be used in the fashion that, it was developed to be used. So.
Council
thank you.
President,
Yep, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
seeing that all these properties are in the district that I represent, I'd really like to sit down with Monica. You can tell me who I can sit down with to go over this, because I'm going back and forth, and I want to go over these bundles and understand it a lot more than what they're saying in here. And I think I need to be clear, because it's all in the district I represent. There's a lot of properties in here. I want to see where they're going with it, what's it going to be turning into, and so forth. So I don't know who I should sit down with.
I think I figured out that whole, remember the whole muffled thing? It's when I have to charge my phone. So those stupid outer boxes. So I would agree, I would appreciate that as well, Kim, because I don't think the policies have changed as far as acquisition and disposition for the land bank from when I started them and wrote them with Kate. But what I do know is that their funding streams have changed. The original 1.2 or 3 million that I won in the first round of Attorney General grants was definitely administered differently, not through any fault of the land bank potentially. I do know that they did have a couple weird years after I had to step down. So I do understand Kate's frustration with that part of it. So that being said, I think it would be great to sit with Tony and Steve. Steve's the liaison for the city, just because it created a little less, I'm going to be really honest with you, conflict, because having been the person who started it. I certainly think it would help just to be able to realize what their funding streams are, what it's dedicated to. And the reason why there's so many properties in North Central is because that was our first target area, because we felt we could do the most impact along River Street in that area and be able to do some significant investment in a short block area and be able to try to open up some of that area, because those are really long blocks in that one section along River Street.
Thank you, because we've got a lot going on in District 2. I've got, Unity House and Trip working together, and they've got things in different sections of the building. So more construction. I want to really understand where they're going with this. So thank you. I'll reach out to Tony and Steve and see if I can set up a meeting.
Yeah, and it's about balance. We have to have balance. It can't be all low income. It has to be a balance of the appropriate housing.
Perfect. I am going now to make a motion, if there's no more discussion, to take out 863 River Street. So 90.54-1-21, we'll take that one out. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? On the amended ordinance 55, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 55 carries 7-0. Sorry about that. Ordinance 56, ordinance authorizing and directing a sale of city-owned real property by the proposed sale application method. Councilmember Zaluski, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember McDermott, is there a second?
Second,
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed? Ordinance 56 carries 7-0. Ordinance 57, I'm sorry, Resolution 49, resolution, bond resolution, of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $200,000 serial bonds to finance the construction of a Department of Public Works building. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
second,
Second, Councilmember McDermott, discussion. Bloop, 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 I see Monica might not be here, might be here. Monica, Andy,
Oh.
something about the fill?
Yeah,
Is that
so
correct?
this was, so the fill at the site, the foundation site of the new DPW building is not suitable for the new building's foundation. In talking with Aaron Vera, additional funding of $200,000 is needed for the project in order to replace the fill and make it suitable for the new foundation. This was unknown at the time when the bond resolution was presented at the end of 2020 in December. It is needed to move forward with the building, and it's part of the third phase of the Siemens project itself.
So we're looking at 3.37, we're bumping it up to 3.57.
Correct.
And Andy, when we bump up a former bond, what happens in terms of interest? Does it go sky high? And how do you add that? I'm just curious.
So each, for resolutions 49 and 51, resolution 50 is different because it's through EFC. The author is, it's the amount to authorize, and then we issue as needed. When we do an issuance, for example, I'm working on the next issuance now for the end of July. That's indicative of that. That's the determining factor of the interest rate, not the total amount of the bond resolution itself. I will say the total amount of the issuance does impact the interest rate that you get, just because the bigger you get, the bigger your issuance, the bigger the investment firms that will bid on it. When you get to a certain threshold, you have people like Jeffries and TD, and those groups will bid. They won't necessarily bid on bands that are at 1 million, 2 million. So it's much more dependent on the aggregate. But the most determining factor is the interest rate market itself. And interest rates right now, we got, if I remember correctly, below or right around 0.5% on our bands in January. I would anticipate something around there. Interest rates are still running very low in the municipal market.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution 49 carries.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I apologize. On ordinance 56, I don't have ordinance 56 on the paperwork that was sent to me.
Oh, okay.
So I apologize on that. I'd like to change my vote to a no on that, please.
No problem.
I apologize.
No, not a problem at all. Just per the rules, we should probably revote. Or I'm fine with just recording Councilmember Ash McPherson for ordinance 56 as a no. Okay. Unanimous consent.
I'm okay with that.
Perfect. Thank you. Mara, you got that one?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mara. Okay, back to resolution 49. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just to make sure. 7-0, resolution 49. Resolution 50, bond resolution of City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $12,898,111 serial bonds to finance the capital project described in the combined sewer overflow long-term control plan. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Gully, and we have Chris Whelan with us, who is going to bring us knee deep up to speed with this lovely CSO project. Thank you, Chris.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Sure can.
Okay. As most of you know, the project, it's the combined sewer overflow project. All of the sewers used to the river. The county sewer plant was built in the mid-70s. At that point, they put an interceptor along the river to capture the flows. At that time, they were still allowed to have overflows to the river or increased flow for whatever reason. The sewers would overflow into the river. So now EPA has come up with a water guidance, and we've been following this with the CSO program to make the river healthier, to stop the overflows. The overall idea is the water coming into the Troy area from the Mohawk and Upper Hudson is the same water quality that leaves the Port of Albany, so that we don't add any to the water itself. We worked with the DEC on coming up with a program. We did studies of our sewers. We did studies of the river to see how it flows, where hotspots were along the river, where areas of increased pollutants were. And then we developed a plan of attack with projects that kind of pinpointed those areas of concern to overall increase the river. As you know, all of us involved with the Albany Pool, Albany, Rensselaer, Cohoes, Watervliet, Green Island, and Troy, we all benefit from the river itself. So from that we came up with, it was $117 million worth of projects. Originally, it was like 80 million. DEC just wanted to see more money put into the program with some more projects. So we added, we originally put that into, we call 4 tranches, 4 different financings. We financed the first 3 years, and then we went into the second tranche, which covered the Big C, which is the Beaver Creek project in Albany. That we had to, rather than do 3 years, we had to do 5 years. We had to cover the entire project, and it was kind of split between years 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, 9. So now that project is under construction. The bids came in, it was originally a $40 million project. The bids came in at $10 million higher than what they anticipated. So Troy's cost of that is 34.76%. That's our percentage of all projects in the CSO. That was based on how many overflows we have, how much sanitary flow we put to the river. So all the communities, based on our model, we developed the percentages. Albany's percentage is 58% of the project. So from that, they went over on $10 million on the estimate. They had $15 million in grant funds for that project. So talking to Andy, we had 2 options. One,
Chris, I'm so sorry. I'm like totally with you until probably like 45 seconds ago. It went in and out. I apologize. Thanks.
Okay. Nope, that's fine. So I think that was 45 seconds ago is probably when I was talking about the Beaver Creek project being over by $10 million on their project. Okay. And our cost in the whole program is 34.76%, which is based on the amount of overflows we have, population of the city, and the volume of overflow that occurs annually. So with that, we looked at of the financing. As I mentioned, we had the second tranche already done. We could increase the second tranche by $3.5 million to cover the only portion of the project now, and then we would come back in the fall to finance the last tranche of the CSO program. Now, to finance it doesn't mean that we are going to close on all 12.9 million. To finance it means that the projects are funded, and then we can apply for grants to drop the project cost down. We can't do the project unless it's fully funded, and then you deduct grant funding. So what we decided to do is, rather than come now for $3.5 million increase, we decided to put it all into one lump sum bond, and it covers the entire CSO program. Now, I want to remind you, we did a sewer rate increase years ago. That increase was to cover the CSO program. So with this bonding, I do not anticipate any sewer rate increases to cover this program at all. It is, at the end, it should be net zero. So this is just a matter of funding so we can keep CSO program going. It is a consent order by DEC. We are still, even if we say we don't want to fund this, we are still on the hook for this money and for the projects within the consent order. If we back out of this consent order with the Albany pool, DEC will come knocking on our door and probably give us a lot more projects to do. So I think that is kind of a 5-minute overview of everything with it. If there's any specific questions, please ask them away.
No, Chris, you obviously, have kept us abreast of the CSO all along. I feel just like though it's never ending, and I'm sure that you feel that way also. I mean, it's a super important project. Obviously, we're mandated to do it. I guess the question is, there really is no guarantee that more projects, they may be added as we continue to go along here. I mean, I know we have a certain percentage, obviously, keeping the Hudson, cleaning the Hudson, it's a huge priority. I'm not minimizing it, but I mean, we're up now 40.6 mil. There's no guarantee that like when will we be done? I mean, I don't think it'll ever be done.
1972.
What's that?
1972. That's the deadline.
Council President, I agree with you. This seems like the never-ending story. This is the first consent order. It's a 15-year program. So we're coming into the final projects under this consent order, but I fully anticipate the EPA increase water quality regulations over the next couple of years.
Yep.
And we'll probably roll right into another one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to end with the regulations until we are fully 100% separated. And to put a price tag on that right now, I don't like how many commas I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of best way to kind of get the best bang for our buck, work together with our other communities around the area and both sides of the river to move forward and help the environment, help the river, and make it better for the docks.
Listen, I'm obviously totally in favor of everything here. It's just, it is going to continue there. I mean, it is what it is. So,
Council President.
Council Member Cummings.
Yeah, thank you. Just agree that it's incredibly important. Certainly, I got a close-up view of one of our CSOs every day. Every day it rained at the docks, and certainly looking forward to that eventual process if I'm still alive.
That's yeah.
But in the meantime, we're making good progress towards that. I did wonder if you could just give us a little bit of an overview of the couple projects that looks like are coming up in Troy, the two street separations. Are there impacts to the immediate neighbors? Are we working on tying roof lines into those separated lines at all? what should people know about the Polk and Van Buren separation, as well as I think there's a third project, the trunk sewer rehabilitation phase 2.
Yes, I'll go with street first. The trunk sewer rehabilitation. During the beginning of the project, we repaired, installed a new outfall on Cross Street. The old King Fuel site is. The pipe was deteriorated, fallen apart. It was going into the creek. So we replaced that, going to the river, put new signs up. Through the investigation on that, we found that the pipe that goes under the railroad bed, it actually starts up behind Marty Burke's and goes down under the railroad bed and ties in, South Troy Tavern. So what we had to do is that pipe is deteriorated to the point of needing replacement. It's not an easy task because there's the railroad there. So that's kind of what that project is. Polk Street and Van Buren is a simple separation. I say simple as in the idea, the concept is simple. There's some unnamed streams that come off the hill that currently go into the sewer. Back when everything was built prior to the sewer plant, everything went to the river. So all pipe, they put everything into the pipes, it went to the river. When they built the sewer plant, they never separated out the streams. So that is clean water that is ultimately going to the Rensselaer County sewer plant for treatment. So the idea is to put a separated pipe in. The paths that they're going to travel are trying to be designed so we don't interfere with other utilities and that we can get them in effectively and efficiently. But yeah, going along your line of removing roof drains. If there is a roof drain, they can either put it to the street or do a separated line to pipe. Catch basins would be separated out. So it's not just a stream, it's anything along that path that would go, that clean water that would go to the plant is now going to go to the river. So those are those couple projects that are coming up. Polk Street's under design right now. Plans are due at the end of September. So we're getting surveys done of what is the best path to move. Obviously, you can tell by where Polk Street is, there is no clear way from, the hill to the river. So we got to zigzag a little bit. And that's what we're trying to determine the best way to do it.
Okay. And street drains all along that will go in at least, and then maybe some roof drains.
Yes. Yep. If we get the catch basins, the street drains into that pipe, and if we put the roof drains to the street, hopefully it'll end up in the same pipe.
Sure. Yep. And then related, I assume that's regulation. I've certainly seen in lots of places on those street basins that are going to the river, there's designation saying, don't dump here, this goes to the river. I assume that's just required, but just wanted to make sure.
They actually start stamping that right into the lid of the catch.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Chris?
Yes.
Do other council members have questions? I do notice, so say we come in, I'm looking more on the financial side. So say like 123rd Street said 4.5, and then the actual cost was $822,000. The estimated cost was 4.5. What happens to the money we obviously saved on some of these projects? Does it just go back into the pool, or?
Yeah, the money is still bonded for. We only go to long-term bonding on what we use. So the estimates, 123rd Street's a great example. That was a separation that was supposed to come from the bike path on 123rd Street and zigzag through Lansingburg to get to 123rd Street boat launch to ultimately empty into the river. Through design, we moved it, and that's when we redid the bike path, and we put the pipe under the bike path. To all roads out of concern, all other utilities out of the issue, and we could easily get it done, and we saved, as you can see, a considerable amount. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do, So the estimates were done as the program was being developed on almost worst case scenarios. And then we try to, engineering or different options through design to actually save money. But EFC and DEC, Environmental Facilities Corp., are funding corporation from the state. And DEC need to know that the entire estimated project is fully funded so that no matter what happens, the project can continue. If you get grants, it comes off of that. So of the $4.5 million came in at $822,000, it means we don't have to close on that extra financing. We don't owe that back.
Okay. And what about, I did notice the discharge notification system. I know we were smacked quite a bit by DEC. Are we installing those also? And by the way, I haven't heard us being, penalized for a while.
No. What there was when this was being developed, DEC was under the gun with EPA to start a discharge notification system. There are 2 areas in New York State that actually developed one: City of Rochester and the Albany Pool. There's actually a website that, based on the rain data at the Albany Airport, tells you which overflows are actually going. That was supposed to be a baseline for DEC. DEC could never actually get other communities to develop a similar system.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to the NYAlert, New York Alert System, where if a community feels as though that their sewer is overflowing, we have to report to that system. Within the NYAlert, I report our website as a reference for residents to go to determine if we are overflowing.
Okay, awesome. Oh, that's great. And that's in all the communities right now? That's in? Awesome. All right, cool.
I just use the weather app though.
I'm sorry?
I just use the weather app though.
Yeah, if it's raining, we're overflowing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, further questions, discussion?
Well, Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
I know Councilman Cummings said that he's spent time down near the overflows, and I've heard that it causes massive hair growth. So I was thinking about spending some time down there myself.
Mayor?
Maybe Councilman Gully wants to spend some time down there too.
Mayor?
I'm telling you, we should have city council office hours at the marina.
I would love that. Mayor, do you have any input there?
Why ruin a good head with hair?
Good. You need a little laughter. Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. All right, further discussion, questions. Chris, this is awesome. Great presentation. And I love the backup.
I did have one follow-up on the question
Councilmember Cummings.
earlier. Thank you. On the Cross Street sewer trunk rehabilitation. It sounds like, so that's to connect their actual sewer down to the trunk interceptor from Cross Street, or is that a storm sewer?
That is the overflow of the regulator.
Okay.
So the sewer actually separates behind the pump station there,
Yeah.
the Cross Street Pump Station for Rensselaer Greenbush. This pipe is actually what brings the overflow from that regulator under the train tracks through the King Fuel site to the Hudson River.
Okay.
Make sure that stays intact so we don't flood anything upstream or put that flow into a different water body.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's relatively urgent. I guess the only logistical thing if it wasn't urgent, we always aren't sure about the future of that railroad. We'd love to see it continue, but if that's adding a lot of complication, but it sounds like it's urgent enough to move forward with it.
It may be one that it's not a dig and relay, maybe one that we do some sort of lining through there.
That makes sense.
So those are things that we look at through the design phase.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris. And I apologize for spending so much time on this one, but it's a huge, obviously, endeavor and project and super important to our region. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution 50 carries 7-0. Along here, Resolution 51, bond resolution of City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $240,000 serial bonds to finance street lighting replacement projects. Is there, Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Probably should have passed this first before the budget, but anyway, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution 51 carries 7-0. Resolution 52, resolution authorizing and ratifying the memorandum of agreement by and between the City of Troy and the Troy Uniform Firefighters Association, Local 86, IAFF, AFL-CIO. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. I'm not sure who wants to take it away, but I know a lot of work went into the contract with the UFA. Before we go there, I do know Councilmember McDermott wants to say something quickly.
Thank you. Although my husband is retired from the Troy Fire Department, he retired in 2020. This legislation will affect him. Therefore, I will recuse myself from discussion and vote on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll let you know when we're done. Thanks, Councilmember McDermott. Okay, Monica or the mayor. Mayor, why don't you take this one? And I know a lot of work went into this.
Yeah, I'll take this. The disembodied voice here. I am unable to join video. It keeps kicking me out. So the terms are spelled out in the legislation, and I think the memo in support gives excellent detail. The agreement is the product of a number of lengthy meetings and discussions, and I'll be honest, some of them were difficult, but it is an agreement we can and do recommend to the council. It addresses salary concerns, health insurance contributions, making them in line with other bargaining units, and restore some management prerogatives as that relates to training matters over which disagreements had arisen. So those are really the three key points here. It's the result of a lot of hard work on the part of the UFA, Chief McMahon, Monica, Andy, and Rick. So I'd like to thank them for that. I do think this deserves your support, and I hope it will get unanimous support.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll open it up for questions or discussion, members.
Council President?
Yep, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, I think this is long overdue for our firefighters. You know, for a while, I think we've been among the lowest paid in the region. And I think this will probably get us back up to parity. We should be able to have an increase in our ability to hire. I know we've had some problems with finding people that want to come to Troy because the salary is just not quite up there. We were not competitive enough, and I think this will make us competitive. So I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. I'll open it up to others. Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'll reiterate what Councilman Zaluski just said. This has been a long time coming. There's a lot of things that getting them up to snuff. I want to thank the Chief McMahon, the union, Eric Wisher, Monica, and the mayor for sitting down and putting this together and allowing everything to move along. So thank you.
Further questions, discussion? I'll just echo what everyone else said, but I did have a question. I was looking at the backup, and I noticed the technical medic program to assist the ERT, Police Emergency Response Team, is can maybe the chief go into that quickly? It interested me. Chief? Okay, we might have lost him. Mayor, do you know anything about that? Rick?
Yeah, the chief envisions I'm speaking for him now, but I'm pretty sure after having negotiated with him. Oh, here he is.
There he is. Hey, Chief, how are you?
Yeah, I'm well. I apologize. I'm having some technical difficulties here. I don't have a camera, and it's. But anyways, we're just basically supporting the Troy Police Department with their emergency response team. It is. I think it's just a great program in which when the Troy police officers go out on their warrants, on their high risk emergency response team duties, we are going to assign Troy firefighter paramedics with them just in case something horrific should befall one of the officers. We will have medical staff on scene right immediately to be able to treat those officers and get them to definitive care as quick as possible.
Thank you, Chief. I froze for a second. I don't know if anyone noticed. My computer froze. Thanks, Chief. Further questions?
Absolutely.
Yep. Discussion. I also just I did have that question, but I did want to say I support this wholeheartedly. As mentioned, we are having a difficult time recruiting for police and fire, first responders. That's nationwide. But obviously we're interested in Troy, and anything that we can do to become more competitive, to offer incentives, whether it be housing, whether it be whatever. We need obviously more of a diverse pool of folks, but we also need folks to step up to the plate, because just first responders is not an occupation like it was in the day of my dad or maybe some of our folks. So saying that, this is long overdue. I know a lot of work went into it, so kudos to the administration, the mayor, Deputy Mayor, Chief, Eric Wisher, UFA, the executive committee, and everyone working together, because that's what it comes down to, providing the best service and keeping our residents safe. So thank you, and I will be supporting this also. Okay, further. Opposed?
Wait, can you
Sorry.
recall the vote,
Did I
Council
froze?
President?
Did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze, so it wasn't clear.
Sorry. Okay, further discussion.
Council President,
Yes, Council Member Cummings.
I'll just echo many of my colleagues. In the last several years on the council, we've been in the last years of the MAC debt, and we kept telling everyone to wait until the end of it. Yeah, it's good to see as we are rolling that down, we're able to keep those promises and make everyone as whole as possible with what's there. So yeah.
Awesome. Further discussions, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution 52 carries unanimous, 7-0. Sorry, 6-0, 1 recusal.
I was
I
at the meeting.
apologize. Yep, 6-0-1. Resolution 53, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society for the provision of animal sheltering services to the city of Troy and its residents. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Council Member Zaluski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Council Member Ash McPherson. Discussion. Rick, you want to take this one? I love your memo.
I'm sorry. these were some of the most difficult negotiations I think I've been engaged in. And partly it really is because Mohawk Hudson has a monopoly on this service. Albany put this out for RFP. They had one proposal, and that was from Mohawk Hudson. So I think the memo explains that they originally wanted 99,000 for 2021. We were able to get that down to, it's either 86.4 or 84.6. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, for this year and next year, and to go to 99,000 for the 2023. After that, I suspect they're going to be looking for a larger increase. And I don't know, the only way out of that is to partner with other municipalities and develop our own animal sheltering system. It is required under state law that we have a shelter for dogs and that we have a control officer to seize dogs. So it's our legal obligation one way or another.
Indeed it is. Questions for Rick?
Yeah, Council President.
Yep, Councilmember Zalusky.
Rick, have we communicated with any other municipalities? We cannot be alone in this. I'm sure that Mohawk Hudson is doing this to Albany, Schenectady, et cetera. I'm curious to know what these other cities are doing. Are they accepting the increases? Are they talking about maybe having some type of collaborative shelter between the municipalities? I just think it's not fair to city. I mean, I am a big supporter of Mohawk Hudson, or at least I have been. It's making me not want to support them anymore, to be honest with you, having to deal with it from this end of things. But I love what they do. We've adopted animals from Mohawk Hudson, and we've raised a ton of money for them through my 40th birthday party, which was now 11 years ago. But this is it's just. We're being taken to the cleaners on this, in my opinion, and it's not going to stop unless we can push back in a more forceful manner. And I know we can't do it alone. I get that, like, we don't have the resources to do this, but I'd like to know have we had conversations with other municipalities? If we don't want to talk about the particulars publicly, because maybe this is something where it's a strategic thing, then we don't have to. But anything you can talk about, I'd appreciate.
Well, I can tell you this much. I've had extensive conversations with the Deputy Corporation Counsel in Albany, who handles contracting for Albany. They reached I think a 3-year agreement. They're paying $167,000, which is it's about a $68,000 increase over what they paid last year. They have somewhat different provisions in their contract, but overall it's very similar to ours. I haven't spoken with Watervliet, but I believe they have a per dog contract, which is kind of what we wanted when we saw that our usage was generally much lower than had been represented to us. However, that was not available to us. I have not had any conversations with any other municipalities in Rensselaer County. So I don't know, as far as the idea of having a joint municipal shelter, it's very inchoate at the present time. And probably, it needs to get off the ground, but I don't know who would manage it or how it would get managed.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I just think it's just an outrageous increase. Given our usage, and you're right, Rick, we were looking at this. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I remember that, we were not making heavy usage of the shelter. And I feel like we're paying a lot more than what we should be. And I also, again, I don't really want to get into this publicly, but let me just say that I feel like we are subsidizing some, let's say, some expensive moves that the shelter has made. I mean, they have this new multi-million-dollar building. That's great. They needed that, but this is really, really hard to stomach, and it's a shame because it's an organization that I've always supported and feel very close to. Actually, I mean, I'm a big animal lover, and advocate. So, yeah, I'm really torn on this.
Council President.
Yes, Monica.
So I think it's also important to remember, and you know me, this was a hard one for me because I had to, I had a lot of challenges with this as well too. But I also want people to understand that even though the numbers that we tracked for the first 3 months of this year and even going into April, those were our dogs or our animals that we brought to them. Their numbers include, and I joke, Mary in South Troy, and it's not Mary who goes to St. Joseph's, but Mary in South Troy who finds a litter of kittens in a box on the side of the road and takes them down there herself. It includes all of those. It's the people who find a stray animal and then take it to the Humane Society themselves. So there is also that is included in this, and it wasn't necessarily included in those first 3 or 4 months of tracking. It's a significant number of pets that actually go to them on an annual basis. It's probably double what we track as far as what Kevin and our police department probably take over there. So it's a significant number of strays that get there taken by just regular individuals.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Monica. And, I know I kind of look at it a little differently. I mean, I get it. The amount obviously increased quite dramatically. We went through a little bit of a tough time there in terms of, going back and forth with MHHS. Obviously, the council, we were a little upset how we initially found out about this, but listen, we have to move forward. I agree with Councilmember Zaluski. I mean, if we can look maybe at some type of partnership with other municipalities and maybe the county, maybe there is funding available to potentially, have an intermunicipal type of facility. I think some northern counties do that, maybe Saratoga, I'm not sure, but saying that, this is certainly something that we got to bite the bullet on. And at the same time, all of those animals, like Monica stated, that are potentially lost, et cetera, and people are bringing to the shelter, I mean, we have to also look at it as a better quality of life in our city and in our neighborhood. So while it's very expensive, at the same time, it is keeping people safer and obviously, ultimately keeping our neighborhood's quality of life intact. So it's a tough one. It's a lot of money, but at the same time, it's just something that we have to bite the bullet on. So,
Council President,
yes, Councilmember Gully.
you're absolutely right. It's a lot of money. And it's unfortunate, but we have to step up to realize that there were years where the numbers didn't go up. So it seems a little far out of range when they put a big bump like this in. But we have a contract that we're all going to agree to. And I think moving forward, we should be looking at how to maybe build a facility and lease it out to a veterinarian group and shared services and bring these municipalities over to us. And maybe we could lighten that fee if we did it right. And I know that there's some business minded people on here, so I'll leave it at that because it's late and we all want to get out of here. But I'll tell you, we should be looking towards the future and thinking about it now so we can develop it in 3 years when this contract is at its max.
Indeed, very good points, Councilmember Gully. Further questions, discussion? All in favor? Oh, hold on, Councilmember Ash McPherson, sorry. No? Okay. Further questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Resolution 53 carries 6-1. Resolution 54, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Boys and Girls Club of the Capital Area, Inc. for the purpose of providing trained personnel to administer and operate the South Troy Pool facility through August 29th, 2021. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully. You're on mute.
sorry about that. I don't know
There
my.
you go.
I have
That's
so many
okay.
things in front of me, I can't keep track of this stuff. So Monica, the pool is gonna be open for 8 weeks, am I right?
Yeah, it'll open July 6th and then be open, what we're anticipating is August 29th. And that is really just a projection at that point in time. A lot of it depends on the lifeguards and whether they're college students that return to college or if they're locals and that kind of stuff.
I agree, because I was just trying to figure this out. We're looking at a tentative salary, and I know there's gonna be, I know that we list the no-shows and the, whatever the heck else you called them in here. No-shows and something else, but also rain days. Oh, here we go, call-outs and
Call-outs.
no-shows. But we'll also have rain-out days that accumulate there, and I know that's gonna be looked at, but I'm just looking at the labor. We're looking at $10,619.87 a week. And if you divide that by, and I'll go first by the 22 employees that are getting background checks, you're looking at an average pay of $482.72 for a part-time worker. And if you have 30 employees, it would only drop down to $353 per employee for the pool. And I thought they were part-time students. I'm just surprised. That seems kind of high. And then there's also a management oversight and administration fee of $17,000 on top of that. Could you help me understand that a little better?
Sure. So we actually employ quite a few pool attendants and lifeguards. There's if you were at the pool last year when it opened, they have a pretty significant amount of attendance and everything. So this is a projection. So we only pay them actual costs. They send us the receipts and then we audit that and then send it back. So the administrative costs cover, those are the things that cover like Patrick and Adrian and all the other people who are part of the staff. It's insurance, it's overhead, it's, all of that. They work with the county and all that other kind of stuff as well too. They get all the paperwork put together, they do all the certifications, they do all the county inspections for us as well. So that's all included in the admin fee. But they do have Patty, who is the full-time. She was the one that was in Lansingburg. So she's still with us. So she's the manager essentially of the pool. And then she also does swimming lessons as well. And then you have a head lifeguard, and then you have just traditional lifeguards, and then you have pool attendants. So it's a pretty significant stack to be able to make sure that there's oversight so that if Patty's not there, there's a head lifeguard in charge, and being able to manage everybody.
I don't see it here, but do you think we can get a copy of that 2021 staffing and salary worksheet that they listed on this summary of the pool budget, summer pool budget?
Yeah, I can send that over to you guys. It's part of their projections and what they say.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh. Speaking of MHHS, you know what, on this one, I see it as an incredible partnership. I think one of the things, at least myself and maybe others heard, with the Knickerbocker pool and the South Troy pool prior, I want to say years ago, one of the issues was neighbors were very concerned about some of the folks, the children and others who were attending the pools, and maybe some fights broke out. I know over at Knickerbocker there was some problems there. And I have to tell you, last year I stopped down the pool probably 7 or 8 times, and it's very organized. They do a phenomenal job. And listen, other communities right now are having a tough time finding lifeguards because the whole certification, all of that. I find this partnership very fortunate, very positive, and I do think just their organization is second to none in terms of right on site. So, I think it's a great partnership. So, Any questions? Comments?
Council President, if you want
Yes.
me to give a quick rundown, I have that. There's a pool coordinator who is $18 an hour, a pool coordinator assistant, which is $17.50. There are 6 lifeguards that each make $15. They work 38 and a half hours a week. There's 2 floaters that work 20 hours a week at the same price. There's what they call spotters, which are the assistants. There's 6 of those and 2 floaters. They make $12.60 an hour. And then there's security, which will be covered through our staffing. We'll hire the security guards through our part-time staff through the park.
Councilmember Gully,
Thank you for that. If you could send that sheet over, I'd still appreciate it.
sounds good. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution 54 carries 7-0. I believe Resolution 55, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into 3 master services agreements for consultant structural engineering services, typo, to be procured pursuant to task orders. There's a typo in the header, that's all. Services. Council President Mantello, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, and I was going to make that same correction.
Awesome. Motion, Councilmember Zaluski with the correction. Second. Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion.
Council President,
Yep, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
can I have somebody explain why we're getting 3 engineer firms? What's going on?
Sure. So we went out to RFP similar to what we have. We have CDM Smith, who is our contract engineer for all the DPU and engineering services with the city. Part of the challenge that we've found is that even though CHA is our contract engineer, they pool up through CDM Smith. So it actually costs us about 5% more because they put an admin fee on top of it. And also what we were trying to do is also see if we can be a little bit more efficient and or more competitive in our pricing. So by doing an RFP process and having 3 firms respond, we have the ability to go to all 3 firms with projects and be able to get the best pricing needed for whatever project we're working on. They were vetted, they were a full RFP process went out the door for it. And then this is a result. This is a very similar manner of how some of like our paving contracts that we used to piggyback off of on the county. There's a list of contractors and then you can choose from any of those. So this is a very similar model, which is good for us. It allows us to be pretty nimble, but also commits us to those that responded to what our request was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
It
you.
all-
Rick?
Yeah,
Rick?
I just wanted to add, Aaron also favors this idea because it allows us, there are certain situations which arise where we need an engineer right away. And if we only have one in the pool, they may or may not be available. They may not be able to give us the service that we need in an emergency. So this gives us a much deeper bench, so to speak.
So Aaron isn't leaving.
Oh, no. Aaron is not a structural engineer.
Okay, just want to make sure, because I heard several different rumors going around, and that's why I was wondering what was going on. So thank you.
I haven't heard those rumors, so I just may be out of the loop, but I don't know about that. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
this is just good practice because when we do a demolition or if there's some sort of a structural issue, we always require to have some sort of report along with the demolition and stuff. So it's always relatively good to have a third party provide that information for us rather than us. Keeps it clean, keeps it straight. And then also as other projects creep up, it gives us the ability to utilize them as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution 55 carries 7-0. If okay, I'd like to go right into the special meeting for folks out there. Some of the items that are timely will be acted on at a special meeting. All good with that, or do you need a 2-minute break?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Zalusky.
I would love 2 minutes if possible.
Absolutely. We'll take a 2-minute break, folks. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
It's a nature calls break.
I'm with you. I was holding.
I think we better put 7 porta potties in the next council budget.
Commodes.
Council President, do we need
You want to call them?
I will make a motion to adjourn the finance meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mara, 7-0 to adjourn. When we get back, we'll go into the special. Thank you.
I just don't believe how terrible this is. All right, so.
Rick, you're not muted.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully folks are coming back. Hi, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. See you soon.
Horrible. I've got this friggin' head cold.
A head cold. You sure it's not allergies? They are horrible right now.
No, I think it's a head cold.
Councilmember McDermott, you're making me very hungry.
Oh, I'm starving
I'm
myself.
so hungry. I know. Okay, we're almost done. All right, we're just waiting on anyone else? Okay, let's get rolling. Mara, thank you for hanging out with us this late. Let's open the special meeting. It is 9:36. We're only 2 hours and 36 minutes over.
I would like to mention that the lights did just automatically shut off at City Hall.
You're kidding.
And my office light is on, but all the other lights are out, so.
Oh my gosh, Mara, okay, be safe. All right, let's do this. I'll open the special meeting and I'll ask Councilmember Ash McPherson to lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Mara, roll call.
Councilmember Gully,
Yep, I'm here.
Ash McPherson,
I'm still here.
Councilmember Steele,
Still present.
Councilmember Cummings,
Present.
Councilmember Zalinski,
I'm here.
Councilmember McDermott,
Here.
and Council President Mantello.
I am here.
7 present, I'm absent.
Okay, we'll take a motion to approve the prior minutes to the regular meeting in May.
I will make a motion that we approve the May minutes as transcribed.
Councilmember Zalinski motions. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. Councilmember Gully, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion is approved 7-0.
All right, presentation of the agenda. We have a few ordinances and a couple of resolutions that were on earlier this evening in finance. No one signed up, Mara, for the public forum?
We did have 2 people who indicated they wanted to speak, but they are not currently logged on. They have not been logged on for several hours. So.
Okay, well, please contact us. We're all accessible. You know how to get us. No local laws. Ordinance 49.
Ordinance amending Chapter 216 of the Troy City Code, Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalinski. Is there a second?
I have a second.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully beat you to the punch. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 49 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 53.
Ordinance amending Chapter 216 of the Troy City Code, Council President Mantello, Councilmember Ash McPherson, Councilmember Zalinski.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember McDermott. Is there a second?
Make a second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? Did I ever tell you guys that I used to oversee the, okay.
Oh, God.
Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 53 carries 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 54.
Ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit, City of Troy, New York against Alpha Recreation 2, Inc., Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zalinski. Is there a second?
I will second again.
Thank you. Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 54 carries 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 56.
Ordinance authorizing and directing a sale of city-owned real property by the proposal sale application method. Council member Zalinski.
Ooh, a little typo there.
Motion.
Is there a
It
motion?
was a cut and paste error.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember McDermott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I'm not going to get into a long drawn out on this. I want to say thank you to the committee that goes through and reviews all this. I did sit down and have a review on this. I seen what work they put into this. I thank you guys for doing that. I all sent an email out to all of you with my opinion on that. And I'm not going to be in favor of this ordinance.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 56 passes, 6 ayes, 1 no.
Resolution 49.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $200,000 serial bonds to finance the construction of the Department of Public Works building. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
I'll make it second.
Second, Councilmember Gully, discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 49 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
And Resolution 51.
Bond resolution of the City of Troy, New York, authorizing the issuance of an additional $240,000 serial bonds to finance street lighting replacement projects. Council President Mantello has requested the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele, discussion.
I just love watching Monica type. It's very smooth, very smooth.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 51 carries, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 53.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society for the provision of animal sheltering services to the City of Troy and its residents. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott, discussion.
And Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against this. I know I assume I'll be the sole no vote. This is not meant to reflect at all on the administration and their negotiations. I appreciate all the work that people have put into this. This is just my own disappointment with with Mohawk Hudson. You know, I guess we'll keep trying with them, but like I said, I think it's just too steep of an increase over such a short period of time. Thank you.
Understood. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Resolution 53 passes, 6 ayes, 1 no.
Resolution 54.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Boys and Girls Club of the Capital Area, Inc. for the purpose of providing trained personnel to administer and operate the South Troy Pool Facility through August 29th, 2021. Council President Mantello has requested the administration.
Before we take a motion and second, I do apologize. I am corrected. Ordinance 56, Councilmember Gully, I believe, voted no. Correct, Councilmember?
Correct.
Okay, so Mara, if you could reflect the voting to ordinance 56, 5-2. And I thank the person who texted me to apprise me. Thank you. Okay, Mara?
I'm sorry, I'm unmuted and muted and unmuted. So ordinance 56 is now 5 ayes and 2 noes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
In
you.
resolution 54, Mara stated it. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson, put the peace sign up quick. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 54 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Before we adjourn, just very quickly, Juneteenth, Monica or Councilmember Ash McPherson, do you want to just, for anyone that is 9:46 in the evening watching, Juneteenth events and our new park. Want to give the day?
Yep, so we're doing the dedication at 10 a.m. We're gonna hope it holds off and rain. Does not look like a pleasing day. The dedication of the park and the opening of the park will happen at 10 a.m. At 7th and Ingalls. We're looking forward to it. We've invited all our private funders, our state funders, One Troy, as well as all of our elected officials. So please feel free to stop by, see what's going on in the park. And then if you'd like to stay, Troy's Juneteenth event, it will be happening there. Troy Look and all of the associated partners, the NAACP, are throwing an event. It's day long with various things throughout the day. So feel free to come down and partake.
Awesome. Thank you, Monica. Kim, Councilmember Ash McPherson, did you want to add anything quickly?
No, I'm fine right now. Monica said it all.
Awesome. Okay.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
I'd just like to bring up that this year we are going to be pushing forward with the Powers Park concerts, and we have a program booked that we're offering to all businesses in the city. If they would like to purchase an ad to help support the free concerts and help us along, we'd be glad to promote their business and help them. So if you have any businesses that would like to be part of that, just have them reach out to me and we'll make sure they get good taken care of.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Gully. Lots going on. If all okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion. to adjourn.
Motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.